Chapter 1171. Pung, pung! Near the end, an ear-piercing sound of pills exploding suddenly rang out in the silent and oppressive Skyfire world. An 8th-grade alchemist had made a mistake while condensing the pill patterns, causing the medicinal power in the pill to leak out. The flame went out of control, and the furnace exploded, causing all his efforts to go to waste. Perhaps they were infected by the failure of this 8th-grade alchemist. But in the next hour, more alchemists failed. However, the continuous explosions did not affect Yi Chen-fong and the rest. Yi Chen-fong cleared all distracting thoughts and released his powerful soul spirit to control the flames in the vermilion bird cauldron. At the same time, he condensed the ancient pill patterns and increased the quality of the ancient path, golden core. Although Yi Chen-feng's soul spirit had reached the level of a 3-star Tao Saint, continuously condensing the mysterious ancient pill patterns and controlling the death flame, heavenly fire to refine pills, still made Yi Chen-feng's soul spirit feel a little tired. However, unless he had no other choice, he did not want to expose the sky-burning initial sacred flame too early. He kept spitting the death flame, heavenly fire into the vermilion bird cauldron to increase the speed of condensing the ancient path golden core. After another 6 hours, there was not much sand left in the hourglass. The saint son of fire spirits' eyes suddenly shone brightly. He spat out a mouthful of essence, blood from his mouth, and melted into the 3-legged cauldron. After absorbing the flame, spirit saint's blood essence, the heavenly fire in the cauldron became even more vigorous. It crazily refined the Bodhi ancient path pill that was violently tumbling in the flames. Finally, after the flame spirit saint's blood essence increased the power of the flames, the Bodhi ancient path pill was successfully refined. It was like a beast that had just awoken. It broke through the boiling hot lid and floated in the void. 8-mark Bodhi ancient path pill. Seeing the 8 mysterious pill patterns on the surface of the Bodhi ancient path pill that the flame spirit saint had refined, many people in the viewing pavilion exclaimed, "The flame spirit saint is indeed a rare alchemy genius of the sacred Fire Valley. He can refine an 8-mark ancient path pill at such a young age. His potential is unimaginable. Yes, the flame spirit saint is too scary. If he is given time, he will definitely become a saint alchemist. He might even become the youngest saint alchemist in the Central World. By the way, have you heard about the bet between Feng Qin and the fire spirit Holy Sun?" Suddenly, someone in the viewing pavilion asked. "Of course I have. Although Feng Qin's performance yesterday was amazing, I feel that there is still a big gap between him and the flame spirit saint. It is inevitable that he will kowtow and apologize." After witnessing the flame spirit saint sun refine the 8 runes ancient Tao pill through the light barrier, the spectators in the viewing pavilions were all stunned by the flame spirit saint sun's superb alchemy skills. Almost no one thought highly of Yi Chen-fong anymore. Even Wang Tian Marquis and Mu Qinghua were slightly worried about Yi Chen-fong. They were worried that he would be distracted by the flame spirit saint sun and fail at the last moment. Just as the fire spirit Holy Sun held the 8-mark Bodhi ancient way pill in his hand and looked at Yi Chen-fong proudly, beams of fire were released from the phoenix burning furnace. Jiao Yuan shouted as her hands quickly moved, forming a series of mysterious hand seals that heavily struck the boiling hot walls of the phoenix incinerating furnace. In the next moment, the scorching hot Bodhi ancient way pill flew out of the phoenix burning furnace, releasing a gentle white light as it hovered in the air. 8 runes. He actually refined an 8-mark ancient way pill. Seeing that the Bodhi ancient way pill floating above Jiao Yan's head had also reached the 8-mark quality, the flame spirit Holy Sun raised his eyebrows in disbelief. He knew how difficult it was to refine an 8-mark Bodhi ancient way pill. If he hadn't read Yao Yan's tens of thousands of years of alchemy experience, which allowed his alchemy skills to be reborn and opened his eyes, he definitely wouldn't have been able to refine an 8-mark ancient way pill. Could it be that he can really refine an ancient way golden pill? Thinking of this, the flame spirit Holy Sun's gaze couldn't help but drift to the stone platform beside him. Yi Qinfeng's face was slightly pale. Seeing the slightly strained Yi Qinfeng, the flame spirit Holy Sun's lips curled up slightly, revealing a mocking smile as he relaxed. He felt that even if Yi Qinfeng managed to refine an ancient way golden pill at the last moment, it would still be impossible for him to refine a 5-mark ancient way golden pill. Although the Bodhi ancient way pill was inferior to the ancient way golden pill, in terms of alchemy quality, the flame spirit Holy Sun could surpass Yi Qinfeng and obtain the final victory. And judging from Yi Qinfeng's strained appearance, there was an 80% chance that Yi Qinfeng would fail at the last moment, or that he wouldn't be able to refine an ancient way golden pill within the time limit. After the flame, spirit, Holy Sun, and Jiao Yuyan, many other grade 9 alchemists also completed their alchemy. However, even more people failed at the last moment. Time passed by slowly. Seeing that the fire and sand in the funnel had run out, Yi Qinfeng's hands, which were covered in ancient way golden pill patterns, fiercely pressed them into the vermilion bird cauldron. Following this, an ear-piercing bird cry rang out. A lifelike vermilion bird phantom broke out of the scalding vermilion bird cauldron. In the vermilion bird's sharp beak was a dazzling golden ancient way golden pill that was releasing the power of the great Tao. Just as the flame spirit Holy Sun's eyes widened, wanting to see the quality of the ancient way golden pill that Yi Qinfeng had refined, the nimble Yi Qinfeng retrieved the ancient way golden pill from the vermilion bird phantom's beak. He sat cross-legged beside the stone platform and silently adjusted his breathing to recover the spiritual energy he had consumed. Mother asterisk her, this kid is really lucky. He actually refined the ancient way golden pill at the last moment. The flame spirit Holy Sun cursed in his heart. However, although he did not see the quality of the ancient way golden pill that Yi Qinfeng had refined, judging from Yi Qinfeng's cautious attitude, he felt that the ancient way golden pill that Yi Qinfeng had refined should not be of high quality. Otherwise, Yi Qinfeng would have already shown off to him. Not long after Yi Qinfeng had refined the ancient way golden pill, the funnel had run out of fire sand. The 3-day semi-final competition had ended. The inhibition spell around the stone platforms had disappeared. Feng Qin, I did not expect you to be so lucky. Even I am a bit envious. I wonder how many ancient way golden pill you have refined. The flame spirit Holy Sun looked provocatively at Yi Qinfeng, who was holding the ancient way golden pill in his hand. His face was slightly pale. He revealed a hint of mockery. What, flame spirit? Do you think that you have already won? Yi Qinfeng glanced at the flame spirit Saint Sun coldly and said indifferently, Of course, I am the first to refine an 8-mark Bodhi ancient way pill. Who do you think can beat me in the semi-final? The flame spirit Holy Sun revealed a hint of arrogance and said, although his arrogant words made many Tier 9 alchemists unhappy, the 8-mark Bodhi ancient way pill that he had refined was indeed unparalleled. The alchemists were angry, but did not dare to say anything. Seeing the sullen expressions around him, the flame spirit Holy Sun's smile grew wider. He continued to provoke, All right, Feng Qin, stop hiding. Let us all see how many ancient way golden pill you have refined. Don't tell me it is only one ancient way golden pill that you have refined. Ah, a frog at the bottom of a well is a frog at the bottom of a well. You think you are invincible after refining an 8-mark Bodhi ancient way pill. What a joke. Yi Qinfeng shook his head. The corner of his mouth curled up. He revealed a hint of mockery and said, I really don't want to tell you that I have refined a 9-mark ancient way golden pill. What? Seeing Yi Qinfeng pinching the ancient Tao golden core between his fingers. Not only was the flame spirit Saint Sun dumbfounded, but all the alchemists, including Jiao Yuyan, were also dumbfounded. The heavenly fire realm, which had been noisy just a moment ago, was now completely silent. Everyone's eyes were attracted to the 9-mark ancient way golden pill between Yi Qinfeng's fingers. It seemed to have a demonic nature. They could not pull themselves away. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1172. How? How is this possible? 9 runes, ancient path, golden elixir? Am I seeing things? The saint son of fire spirit came back to his senses and rubbed his eyes hard. He could not believe what he had seen and could not accept the result. All right, stop rubbing your eyes. You can't change the result even if you rub your eyes. Yi Qinfeng looked at the stunned saint son of fire spirit and mocked him. Actually, I don't want to hurt you. However, you have overestimated yourself. Don't you feel like a clown now? You, hearing Yi Qinfeng's blatant mockery, the saint son of fire spirit was so angry that he trembled and his lungs were about to explode. However, he could not find any words to refute. He was the one who had provoked him at the beginning. Now he could only reap what he had sown. Feng Qin, the competition has just begun. Let's wait and see. I will be the one who has the last laugh. The saint son of fire spirit retorted coldly as he suppressed the anger in his heart. He did not look at Yi Qinfeng anymore. However, his twitching eyes betrayed his anger. A clown will always be a clown. You are always deceiving yourself. All right, I will let you dream for a while longer. Yi Qinfeng shook his head and said with a playful smile, All right, put your elixirs on the stone table and let the stone table examine them. Xian Zhangxin looked at Yi Qinfeng with admiration and announced loudly, Buzz, buzz, buzz. Beams of white light shone from the stone table. The mysterious stone table seemed to have a life of its own. It swallowed the elixirs that the alchemist had refined and started to examine the quality of their elixirs. It also checked whether the elixirs were complete and ranked them according to their overall results. Soon the rankings were out. A huge crystal screen appeared in the sky above the heavenly fire world. Everyone's results and the quality of their elixirs appeared on the screen. Yi Qinfeng had refined the 9 runes ancient path golden elixir and won first place in the semifinals. Although the saint son of fire spirit and Jiao Yian had refined the 8 runes ancient path golden elixir, the saint son of fire spirit was slightly faster than Jiao Yian and ranked second. Looking at the rankings on the crystal screen, some people were pleasantly surprised, while others were regretful. And entering the semifinals tomorrow meant that Yi Qinfeng and Jiao Yuyan had both entered the top 20 of this alchemy conference, and even obtained a 9-star emblem. This kind of result was something that Jiao Yuyan had never imagined, nor did she dare to imagine. When Xian Zhangxin was giving out rewards to the alchemists who had failed to qualify for the semifinals, but had made it to the top 100 in the alchemy conference, he had witnessed Yi Qinfeng refine a 9-rune ancient path golden pill and rank first, causing an uproar in several viewing pavilions. Heavens, that Feng Qin is really a monster. He actually managed to refine a 9-rune ancient path golden pill. Why haven't I heard of his name before? Yes, the flame spirit holy sun is already abnormal enough, but compared to Feng Qin, he is still too far away. A 9-rune ancient path golden core. Perhaps even a sacred alchemy master might not be as outstanding as him. Looks like he dared to bet with the flame spirit holy sun in front of everyone, so he must have enough strength. Maybe he really will have the last laugh. Feng Qin, the flame spirit holy sun, is very outstanding, and so is that unbelievably beautiful Jiao Yuyan. I didn't expect that there would be 3 dark horses in this alchemy conference. I wonder if they can shake the sacred alchemy master's position and make it to the top 10. After witnessing Yi Qinfeng turning the tide and suppressing the flame spirit holy sun, Yi Qinfeng's stunning performance once again won over the audience in the viewing pavilions. Amazing. I thought that the assassination a few days ago would have some impact on Feng Qin, but I didn't expect him to finish the competition with such an outstanding performance. If an 8-rune ancient path golden pill is the limit of the flame's spirit holy sun, then he will definitely lose. Wang Tian Marquis revealed a graceful smile. He kept thinking about how to break through the window paper and bring Yi Qinfeng and Jiao Yuyan together. How can this be? How old is that little bastard? How can he refine a 9-rune ancient path golden pill? Looking at the ranking on the crystal light wall, Fire Sky Halberd's face became extremely ugly. With Yi Qinfeng's performance today, it would be extremely difficult for the Flame's spirit Holy Sun to defeat him in the semifinals. Thinking of the consequences of failure, Fire Sky Halberd could no longer remain calm. Master, you must help Fire Spirit again. The Sacred Fire Valley can't afford to lose. Fire Sky Halberd looked at the calm Yao Yan with pleading eyes and pleaded. An 8-rune Bodhi Ancient Path Golden Pill is probably Fire Spirit's limit, and a 9-rune Ancient Path Golden Pill shouldn't be Feng Chen's limit. Yao Yan stared at the ranking on the light wall and said lightly, "It will be difficult for Fire Spirit to turn the tide in the semi-finals." Master, I don't know if you can lend your Saint Furnace to Fire Spirit. With your Saint Furnace, Fire Spirit's performance will definitely rise to another level, and he will defeat Feng Qin in the semi-finals. Fire Sky Halberd gritted his teeth and suddenly knelt on the ground. In order to defeat Yi Qinfeng, he no longer cared about his reputation. Sky Halberd, you should know that I am enemies with the Heavenly Hall. If I lend the Holy Sovereign Cauldron to Fire Spirit, it will disrupt the final ranking, and it will very likely bring trouble to him and the sacred Fire Valley. Yao Yan looked at Fire Sky Halberd, who was kneeling on the ground and begging him, and said slowly, "As long as I can defeat that little bastard, take the divine elixir pill from him, and protect the sacred Fire Valley's biggest secret, I am willing to take this risk." Fire Sky Halberd gritted his teeth and said, "All right, since you are willing to take the risk, I will lend the Holy Sovereign Cauldron to Fire Spirit. However, whether he can defeat Feng Qin in the end, only God knows." Yao Yan pondered for a moment and finally decided, "Thank you, Master. I will never forget Master's kindness." Fire Sky Halberd said emotionally as he knelt on the ground without any regard for his dignity, and kowtowed 3 times to the unfathomable Yao Yan. Yao Yan's Holy Sovereign Cauldron could be said to be one of the 3 strongest cauldrons in the Central World. It had reached the level of a middle-grade sacred treasure. Although the Fire Spirit Saint was unable to control the Holy Sovereign Cauldron and unleash its full power with his strength, he could still use the Holy Sovereign Cauldron to increase his results in a short period of time and refine a 10-rune ancient Dao pill. "Feng Qin, where did you come from?" Yao Yan's gaze was deep as he looked at the wall of light, at the calm and unruffled Yi Qinfeng. It could be said that Yi Qinfeng's performance today had completely exceeded Yao Yan's expectations. Yao Yan kept thinking about which great power had nurtured such a demonic genius. Could Feng Qin be related to those old fellas? After pondering for a while, Yao Yan thought that only those old fellas in the Sky Hall could have groomed Yi Qinfeng, a demonic genius. He could not help but reveal a trace of ruthlessness in his eyes. However, what Yao Yan did not expect was that Yi Qinfeng had nothing to do with Xian Hongzheng and the others. At this time, Xian Hongzheng and the others in the Fire God world were also stunned by Yi Qinfeng's stunning performance. All right, today's semifinals are over. The alchemists who have advanced to the semifinals can take a day off tomorrow. The semifinals will continue the day after tomorrow. Xian Zhengxin floated in the air and looked at the alchemists who had gained and lost some. He then opened the entrance to the heavenly fire world. "Let's go back." Yi Qinfeng and Jiao Yuyan, who had both advanced to the semifinals, flew towards the entrance of the heavenly fire world. They disappeared into the mysterious heavenly fire world with the other alchemists. Mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1173. Marquis, Pavilion Elder. From today onwards, the Wangtian Pavilion will be an 8th grade pavilion. When Yi Qinfeng and Zhao Yian walked out of the Fire God Palace, they saw the Wangtian Marquis and the others waiting outside. Yi Qinfeng revealed a faint smile. Watermark advertisement. Test watermark advertisement test. Thank you. Feng Qin, we owe you too much. I think that only by betrothing Yen, to you, will we be able to repay our debt. Wangtian Marquis smiled as he looked at Yi Qinfeng and Zhao Yian, who were like a golden couple. Hearing the Wangtian Marquis words, Zhao Yian's delicate face suddenly blushed, while Yi Qinfeng chose to remain silent, not knowing how to reply. Just when the atmosphere was slightly awkward, a charming fragrance slowly drifted over. Shui Hanyan, who was wearing a white male outfit and waving a jade fan, exuded a different kind of beauty. Accompanied by 2 Nirvana Realm guards, she slowly walked to the front of Yi Qinfeng. She lightly tiptoed and intimately whispered a few words into Yi Qinfeng's ear. Leaving behind a beautiful back view, she turned around and left. Shui Hanyan, the little princess of Octahead Kingdom. Wangtian Marquis recognized the cross-dressing Shui Hanyan and frowned slightly. Feng Chen, you know each other? Yeah, she and I can be considered friends. Yi Qinfeng nodded and admitted. AI, let's go back. Wangtian Marquis felt that the relationship between Yi Qinfeng and Shui Hanyan was not simple. In addition, the intimate actions of the two just now made people's imaginations run wild. Wangtian Marquis glanced at Zhao Yan, who was biting her lips, and sighed softly in his heart. He returned to the Tao Addict's ancient courtyard. Good disciple, Feng Qin, your performance today was very good. Perform well the day after tomorrow and strive to enter the finals. The Tao Addict, who had returned early, said in a good mood when she saw Yi Qinfeng and the others. Master, we will do our best, the absent-minded Zhao Yan said softly. Seeing that Zhao Yan was not in a good mood, the Tao Addict thought that she was tired and said softly, You must be tired. Rest well. With me here, no one can disturb you. Then, Master, I'm going back to my room. Zhao Yuyan glanced at Yi Qinfeng and returned to her room. Yi Qinfeng also didn't stay in the courtyard and returned to his own room. The night was getting deeper and deeper. The stars were twinkling in the sky, and everything was quiet. Yuyan, are you resting? In the dead of night, Yi Qinfeng suddenly came to Zhao Yuyan's room and gently knocked on the door. Feng Qin, it's already so late. Why are you looking for me? Upon hearing Yi Qinfeng's voice coming from outside, Zhao Yuyan opened the door and softly asked. She was wearing a white chiffon nightgown, her long black hair casually draped over her shoulders, revealing her snow-white skin and exquisite curves. I want to talk to you. Do you have time? Looking at Zhao Yuyan's beautiful face, Yi Qinfeng smiled and said softly, Come in. Zhao Yuyan nodded and welcomed Yi Qinfeng into the room with her bare feet. She very considerately poured a cup of spiritual tea for him and sat opposite him in silence. Yuyan, I wonder if you are interested in hearing my story? Yi Qinfeng said softly as he looked at Zhao Yuyan, who was as beautiful as a fairy under the illumination of the moonlight. Sure. Zhao Yuyan's eyes lit up and revealed a faint smile. Feng Qin isn't my real name. My real name is Yi Qinfeng, and I already have a wife. Yi Qinfeng told Zhao Yuyan his real name and told her about his experiences. However, he deliberately concealed his identity as a foreigner and told his story to the Central World. He also told her about his relationship with Yu Nikhang. At first, When she found out that Yi Qinfeng was married, Jiao Yuyan's delicate face paled and her heart felt as if it was pierced by needles. However, when she heard that his wife, Yu Nikhang, was actually the reincarnation of a supreme expert of the heaven domain and had already left this world, she was deeply shocked. She was even more attracted by Yi Qinfeng's extraordinary story and his bumpy experiences. Feng Qin, is this the reason why you keep rejecting me? Jiao Yuyan gently bit her thin lips and looked at Yi Qinfeng's clear eyes and asked, "That's only one of the reasons. The most important reason is that I wholeheartedly pursue the Supreme Tao. I don't want to be tied down by emotions. The fighting spirit continent isn't my final destination. In this life, I will definitely ascend to the heaven domain." Yi Qinfeng slowly said, his voice filled with incomparable conviction. "Ascend to the heaven domain? Is it because of her?" Jiao Yuyan softly asked. "One is to prove my Tao, and the other is for her." Yi Qinfeng nodded and calmly said, "Feng Qin, to be honest, I am quite envious of her. However, if one day you step onto the peak of the martial Tao, will you accept me?" Jiao Yuyan lightly bit her lips and suddenly boldly asked, "This I will." Yi Qinfeng indeed had a good impression of Jiao Yuyan and didn't lie to himself. He nodded and said, "Then I will wait. Wait for the day you step onto the peak of the martial Tao." Jiao Yuyan suddenly blossomed with a smile that was more beautiful than a flower and firmly said, but Jiao Yuyan took the initiative to hold Yi Qinfeng's big hand, looked into his eyes and firmly said, "No, but this is what I am willing to do. Furthermore, I believe that you will definitely step onto the peak of the martial Tao. As for me, I will also cultivate with all my might, hoping that one day I will be able to help you. All right, then you should properly cultivate with Senior Tao Addict. However, Yuan, if one day you reach the peak of rank 6 combat Beast Emperor, remember not to change your cultivation to Nirvana realm." Yi Qinfeng was moved by Jiao Yuyan's sincerity. He decided that one day when he refined a heavenly sacred breaking pellet, he would leave one for her. "Why?" Jiao Yuyan puzzledly asked. "It's a secret for now. You will know when the time comes." Yi Qinfeng faintly smiled and pretended to be mysterious. "All right then." The obedient Jiao Yuyan didn't ask any more. A trace of craftiness appeared in her eyes as she revealed 2 dimples. She looked at Yi Qinfeng and said, "Feng Qin, what's the relationship between you and that Hakone Divine Nation's princess? Is she also someone who admires you?" "Her? Our relationship can only be considered as using each other. Even if we are together, it is destined to be short-lived." Yi Qinfeng thought for a while and said softly, "All right, I've said everything I need to say. I hope you can undo the knot in your heart and don't delay your cultivation." Yi Qinfeng gently tucked a strand of long hair behind her ear and said softly, "My knot in my heart has been undone. I will wait for you to step onto the peak of martial arts." Jiao Yuyan gently said, "Feng Qin, stay in my room tonight and cultivate the immortal soul technique with me. I feel that when you refined the ancient path pellet today, your soul power was still not enough." "All right." Yi Qinfeng nodded and walked with Jiao Yuyan to the big bed that was emitting a faint fragrance. They sat on the big bed hand in hand and released their soul power without any reservation. They used the most intimate method to cultivate the immortal soul technique to strengthen their soul power. In order to further strengthen their soul power, Yi Qinfeng took out 5 precious drops of heavenly soul Y and melted them into their soul power while they cultivated the immortal soul technique. He used the soul millstone to further refine his soul power. Soon a day had passed. With the nourishment of the 5 drops of heavenly soul Y and the deep soul fusion cultivation, their soul power was enhanced again. More importantly, Jiao Yuan had undone the knot of her heart and was in a surprisingly good state. Finally, it's the semifinals. Huoling, today I will definitely send you from heaven to hell. Yi Qinfeng stretched lazily and glanced at the Jade Maiden, whose face was rosy and whose eyes were closed. She looked even more beautiful than a fairy. Then he revealed an unruly smile as he thought to himself, mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1174. Feng Qin, Yuyan, don't feel too burdened. We will continue to look forward to your brilliant performance. Good luck. Stepping on the first rays of dawn, they arrived outside the fire god shrine and sent Yi Qinfeng and Zhao Yiyan off with his eyes. Chinese network won not long after the two of them entered the fire god shrine. A powerful aura appeared. A white-haired old man with a short stature, full of spirit, a trace of arrogance on his face, and a badge that symbolized the highest status on his chest walked into the fire god shrine with tiger steps. Feng Qin, that old man is known as the Saint of Pills, Great Master Nirvana. He is the #1 Saint Master of our 9 heavens, divine kingdom. Zhao Yiyan transmitted her voice to Yi Qinfeng and introduced him. Powerful. Yi Qinfeng looked at Great Master Nirvana from afar and felt that he had merged with the space around him. If one didn't look at him with their eyes, they wouldn't be able to sense his existence. Not long after Great Master Nirvana's arrival, Great Master Dan Xian of Octave Divine Kingdom, Great Master Bailuo of the Kirin Kingdom, and Great Master Shuiwei of the Hidden Vast Heaven Palace arrived one after another. Although they didn't communicate with each other, they stood proudly in the fire god shrine and gave off a great pressure. It was as if they were towering mountains that couldn't be shaken. Just as Yi Qinfeng was secretly sizing up his main competitors, Yi Qinfeng's sharp senses sensed 4 sharp gazes locked onto him. Fire Sky Halberd, I didn't expect him to sign up as well. Looking at the tall and sturdy Fire Sky Halberd beside the Saint Son of the Fire Spirit, Yi Qinfeng revealed a playful smile. However, although Fire Sky Halberd was also a Saint Master, he wasn't Yi Qinfeng's main target. Yi Qinfeng coldly glanced at him before retracting his gaze and patiently waiting. Soon, the 20 alchemists participating in the semi-finals all arrived. These 20 people represented the highest level of alchemy inheritance in the Central World. Everyone, it has been a long time. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the silent space. Led by Hall Master Xian Hongzheng, the 5 big shots of the Heavenly Palace walked out of the Fire God world and arrived at the Fire God Shrine. Hall Master Xian, don't waste any more time. Let's start the competition. Grand Master Nirvana, who was meditating with his eyes closed, opened his turbid eyes. He looked at Xian Hongzheng, who looked like an immortal, and slowly said, Master Nirvana, don't worry. Let me introduce the rules of the competition to these little fellows who are entering the semi-finals for the first time before we start the competition. Xian Hong revealed a kind smile and said softly, the semi-finals are the same as the semi-finals. It's an elimination competition. Only 10 of you can enter the finals. For the sake of fairness, the pill recipes and herbs will all be provided by my heavenly palace. The pills that you make will also belong to my heavenly palace. Although the Sky Hall's alchemy competition consumed a lot of resources, they also gained a lot. Just the elixirs that were refined in each alchemy competition were enough to make up for their huge consumption. It should be known that the ancient path pill and other pills were extremely valuable, not to mention the quasi-sage pill that might appear. If all these pills belonged to the heavenly palace, then the resources they controlled would be unimaginably powerful. All right, the semifinals will last for 5 days. You can choose your pill formulas now. Then, the Qian Kuan ring on Vice Palace Lord Xian Qingyun's hand shone with rays of white light. Nearly 100 jade scrolls with different pill formulas floated in front of him. At this time, Master Nirvana, and the others all released their powerful souls into the jade scrolls to choose their pill formulas. Soon, everyone had chosen their pill formulas. Because the difficulty of refining the quasi-sage pill was extremely high, other than Master Nirvana, Master Dan Xien, Master Bai Luo, and Master Shuewa, everyone else chose to refine the Ancient Path pill. Yi Qinfeng chose to refine the Ancient Path pill called the Immortal Ancient Dew pill. It could increase the power of Nirvana's supreme beings without any side effects. The Immortal Ancient Dew pill could be said to be the Ancient Path pill with the highest quality and the most difficult pill formula to refine. It required 108 types of herbs, other than Yi Qinfeng. 7 others chose to refine the Immortal Ancient Dew pill, including Fire Sky Halberd and the Flame Spirit Saint Sun. The 5 of us will be the judges for this competition. Does anyone have any objections? After Yi Qinfeng and the others finished choosing their pill formulas, the highly respected and authoritative Xianhong revealed a faint smile and said, "I have objections." Suddenly, the restriction on the Fire God Palace's door was forcefully torn apart. Yao Yan, who was wearing a long black robe, suddenly appeared and said slowly, "Yao Yan." Looking at the sudden appearance of Yao Yan, Xianhong and the others' faces suddenly darkened. "Yao Yan, we don't welcome you here. You can leave now," Xian Qingyan said rudely. Xianhong didn't even say anything. "And you, a deputy palace master, wanted to steal the limelight?" Yao Yan's face didn't have a trace of anger as he said, casually, "Qingyun's words represent me. Yao Yan, our Sky Hall doesn't welcome you. You can leave now." Xianhong Yin said indifferently, "Xianhong, I'm not here to cause trouble today. I'm only here to be a witness for my disciple and grand disciple to prevent you from bullying them." Yao Yan said slowly. He didn't have any intention of leaving. With Grandmaster Nirvana and Grandmaster Pilhard around. "Do you think my Sky Palace will be unfair? Don't think that everyone is like you, kind on the outside but cold on the inside. You are ruthless for your own selfish gain," said Xianhongzheng coldly. "Xianhongzheng, it seems like you're still afraid that my disciple will beat your disciple. That's why you're making so many excuses." Yao Yan mistakenly thought that Yi Qinfeng was Xianhongzheng's disciple. He said lightly, "How about this? I only need 1 sentence from you. If you're willing to admit that you're afraid of me, I'll leave immediately and never step into your Fire God City again." Xianhongzheng suddenly laughed and said slowly, "So you think that Feng Qin is our disciple? What? You don't even dare to admit that he's your disciple?" Yao Yan showed a trace of sarcasm. In his opinion, only the Sky Hall could cultivate a monstrous alchemist like Yi Qinfeng. "I want Feng Chen to be our disciple, but unfortunately he's not." Xianhongzheng shook his head and said, "Feng Chen, this old guy wants to witness the competition between you and his disciple. Do you have the confidence to defeat them?" "Yes, I have full confidence." Yi Qinfeng was stunned. He looked at Xianhongzheng, who was looking at him with a kind gaze, and said confidently, "Good. Since you have the confidence, I'll make an exception and keep this old guy here. I hope that after the semifinals, you can make him lose face." Xianhongzheng looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was brimming with confidence, and said with a light smile, "Don't worry, senior. They will lose without a doubt," Yi Qinfeng said confidently. "The competition hasn't started yet. Isn't it too early to talk about victory?" Fire Sky Halberd suppressed the anger in his heart and looked at Yi Qinfeng with clenched teeth. "If you chose the Quasi-Saint Dan, it's too early to talk about victory. But you chose to refine the same Dan as me, so you're destined to lose," Yi Qinfeng said overbearingly. "You, Fire Sky Halberd, didn't expect Yi Qinfeng to be so arrogant. He was so angry that his face turned black. "All right, let's not waste time arguing. In this world, everything depends on strength. Arguing with words is just a child's play." "Yao!" Yin didn't look at Yi Qinfeng at all. His voice was full of ridicule and disdain. "Senior is right. What I can't stand the most is some people who act like they're the best, but are actually idiots. Yi Qinfeng smiled and cleverly attacked. You. Fire Sky Halberd's suppressed anger was ignited again. His lungs were about to explode. Xian Hongzheng, can the competition begin? Yao Yan's eyes flashed with a sharp light as he said lightly, All right, get ready to start the competition. Xian Hongzheng smiled and announced loudly. In the next moment, 20 independent spaces appeared in the sky above the fire god temple. These 20 independent spaces were the alchemy grounds for everyone. Mobile reading home, book address. In order to facilitate your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 11, 75. What a mysterious space. I really don't know which almighty person created this. Flying into an independent space, Yi Qinfeng found that the space was very stable and removed all the disturbances from the outside world. The space was full of spiritual qi, which could continuously replenish the consumption of alchemy. It was an excellent place for alchemy. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement, test TextNet 1. Just as Yi Qinfeng sat cross-legged in the independent space and adjusted his state of mind, water ripples suddenly appeared in the independent space. Spiritual herbs needed for alchemy appeared in the independent space. At this time, a huge funnel appeared in the void. When the first grain of fire sand fell down, the fierce semifinals began. Buzz. One after another, pill furnaces appeared in the 20 independent spaces, releasing endless flames, illuminating the entire space in a fiery red color. The Holy Lord Tripod, the Saint Son of Fire Spirit, summoned the Holy Lord Tripod. When Xian Hongzheng and the others saw the Saint Son of Fire Spirit summon the black tripod with ancient engravings and floating above their heads, they all showed a trace of anger. Yao Yan, you are indeed a despicable person. Isn't it unfair for you to do this? The hot-tempered first elder Xian Zhong Ting glared at Yao Yan, who was sitting on an ancient wooden chair and drinking tea calmly, and said in a low voice, What was fairness in this world where the strong preyed on the weak? Yao Yan raised his eyelids slightly, glanced at Xian Zhongting, and said lightly, Can fairness be eaten? Also, do you have a written rule that you can't borrow alchemy furnaces? Xian Zhongting, if you are afraid of losing, just say it. Then even if you lose, I won't humiliate you. Yao Yan, I believe that my vision is better than yours. Even if you lend the Holy Lord Tripod to that junior, you can't change the result. Xian Hongzheng looked at Yao Yan, who tried to overthrow the Heavenly Palace and caused great losses to the Heavenly Palace, and said in a low voice, If it weren't for the hidden power that Yao Yan controlled, Xian Hongzheng would have suppressed him if he dared to appear in the Heavenly Palace. Let's wait and see who will have the last laugh. The corners of Yao Yan's mouth curled up slightly as he spoke with a calm expression. It was as though victory was already within his grasp. The source of his confidence was not only the Holy Sovereign Cauldron, but also other hidden tricks. Not only did he lend the Sage Sovereign Cauldron to Yao Yan, but he also left a hidden card in the Sage Sovereign Cauldron. He left the Sage Sovereign Cauldron with the Sage Sovereign Cauldron, helping the Flame Spirit Saint Child improve the quality of the Celestial Ancient Dew Pellet at the last moment. As long as the Flame Spirit Saint Son could concoct the 10 marks Immortal Ancient Dew Pill, he would have an 80% chance of defeating Yi Qinfeng. He would even be undefeatable. This was also the reason why he was so calm. Well, I hope you have the guts to stay after the game. After he finished speaking, Xian Hong no longer paid attention to Yao Yan, who was sitting alone at the side. He cast his gaze toward the light wall and patiently waited for the final result. With 108 herbs, the difficulty of concocting this celestial ancient dew pill was more than just a little harder than concocting a great Tao golden core. Yi Qinfeng released his powerful soul and quickly sensed the attributes and medicinal properties of the herbs before him. However, these 108 herbs were too complex. Yi Qinfeng had to combine his soul and memories to slowly feel them out, wasting a lot of time. However, he was not in a hurry. He knew the importance of the early work. Only by understanding all the medicinal properties of these 108 herbs could he deal with any situation that might arise during the concoction process. Not only was Yi Qinfeng not in a hurry to concoct the pill, but Master Nirvana and the other three who chose to concoct the quasi-holy pill were also patiently trying to understand the herbs before them. They were making detailed preparations for concocting the pill. About 6 hours later, Yi Qinfeng, who had his eyes tightly shut and was controlling the God-Eater brain to deduce the medicinal properties of the herbs, suddenly opened his eyes. Rays of sharp light shot out from his eyes as if they were sparkling stars. Using the God-Eater brain to completely understand the medicinal properties of these 108 herbs, Yi Qinfeng put 10 drops of soul fluid in his mouth and summoned the Suzaku cauldron. He was ready to concoct the pill. 10,000-year green spirit vine, purple leaf orchid, Bodhi flower, green lotus fruit melt. Yi Qinfeng continuously spat out more than 10 mouthfuls of death flame, heavenly fire into the Suzaku cauldron, igniting it. Then he threw in 4 herbs with the same medicinal properties into the Suzaku cauldron. Under the amplification of the Suzaku cauldron and the melting of the death flame, heavenly fire, the 4 valuable herbs instantly withered and melted, turning into 4 balls of green spirit liquid. Buzz, buzz, buzz! Yi Qinfeng's soul force exploded and poured into the scorching Suzaku cauldron. Through exquisite fire control, the impurities in the 4 balls of spirit liquid were separated and melted away. However, the medicinal properties of the spirit liquid were not damaged at all. After successfully purifying the 4 spiritual herbs, Yi Qinfeng's hands moved like lightning. He grabbed the 4 spiritual herbs and tossed them into the vermilion bird cauldron. Through his exquisite control of fire, he purified the spiritual herbs. Time slowly passed. The 20 top alchemists of the Central World used all their skills to continuously purify the herbs. Soon a day had passed. During this day, no one completed all the purification. This showed how difficult it was to concoct the quasi-saint pill, the top ancient path pill. 99 herbs had been purified. There were only 9 left before he could completely purify them. Yi Qinfeng took a deep breath and swallowed a drop of soul fluid. While recovering his exhausted soul force, he proceeded to purify the remaining 9 heaven and earth spirit herbs. At this moment, the slowly spinning Holy Sovereign Cauldron suddenly burst into flames. With the power of the Holy Sovereign Cauldron, the Fire Spirit Saint was the first to complete the purification. He quickly swallowed a pill to recover his soul and began to use his exquisite alchemy skills to refine the pill and condense the pill patterns. The difference between Fengqin and Fire Spirit's cauldrons was too great. Relying on the old man's Holy Sovereign Cauldron, Fire Spirit's advantage was too obvious. Looking at the Fire Spirit Saint who stood out and was the first to complete the purification, Deputy Palace Lord Xianqinyan couldn't help but frown. He transmitted his voice to Xian Hongjin. "Don't worry, the cauldron is just a worldly possession. Everything still depends on strength. I have a feeling that that little guy will still create miracles." Xian Hongjin looked at the calm and experienced Yi Qinfeng with a deep gaze as he slowly said, "Not long after the saint son of Fire Spirit finished his purification, the other sacred masters also finished their purification. On the other hand, Yi Qinfeng took a longer time to study the 108 herbs. By the time he finished purifying all the herbs, the others had already started to refine the pills. Spiritual bead of life, fuse. Yi Qinfeng got rid of all distracting thoughts. He was not affected by the outside world and started to condense the pill. When he used his mysterious alchemy skills to refine the celestial ancient dew pill, he exposed his trump card. For the first time, he controlled the spiritual pearl of life to release a powerful life force. As he condensed the pill pattern, it merged into the vermilion bird cauldron and increased the quality of the celestial ancient dew pill. As long as he could use the spiritual pearl of life to increase the quality of the celestial ancient dew pill to the level of a sage-to-be pill, he would definitely be able to enter the finals tomorrow. He would also be able to give Yao Yan and the fire spirit saint a heavy blow. However, it was his first time refining the celestial ancient dew pill. He was still a little unfamiliar with it. When he controlled the fire with his soul and constantly merged the life force to condense the ancient pill pattern, he accidentally made a small mistake. This small mistake directly caused the fire in the vermilion bird cauldron to become chaotic. The prototype of the pill that had just been condensed started to crack. There were signs of the pill exploding. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button below to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1176. Not good. Feng Chen's furnace fire is out of control. If it can't be controlled, the pill will explode. Through the light wall, Xian Qingyun and the others saw a large amount of death flame, heavenly fire coming out of the Suzaku cauldron. The entire cauldron was shaking violently. Watermark advertisement. Test watermark advertisement test once. Yi Qinfeng failed in this way. Yao Yan would definitely use this opportunity to humiliate them. The heavenly hall would also be humiliated. They were also clear about the bet between Yi Qinfeng and the fire spirit saint. They were worried that once Yi Qinfeng failed, he would not be able to recover from this setback. This is the successor you chose? Is he not that good? Yao Yan said deliberately as he drank the spirit tea, filled with spirit qi. He smiled faintly and looked at Xian Qingyun and the others who had lost their composure. I said that Feng Qin is not our successor, and the winner has not been decided yet. It is too early for you to be happy. Xian Hong retorted while looking coldly at Yao Yan. Although the pill in Yi Qinfeng's furnace could explode at any time, Yi Qinfeng did not panic at all. It was enough to show that he was confident in stabilizing the furnace fire and solving this problem. I don't care if you admit that the kid is related to you or not, but if the furnace fire is chaotic, it will directly cause the spirit liquid to be lost. So, even if he completes the refinement in the end, the quality of the pill will not exceed 7 veins. So he will lose for sure. Yao Yan smiled faintly and said, "Humph, Yao Yan, you better pray that your disciple and grand disciple can succeed, especially your grand disciple, who you have high hopes for. I think his success rate of refining the immortal ancient dew pill is less than 50%. Great Elder Xian Zhongting retorted loudly. You don't need to worry about this, but I want to make a bet with you. I want to bet on the ancient sacred fire that you have suppressed. Do you dare?" Because he had left a secret in the holy sovereign cauldron, Yao Yan was not worried that the fire spirit saint would fail. Today he came here to support Fire Sky Halberd and the others. He also wanted to obtain the ancient sacred fire that was known as the #1 sacred fire in the Central World. Yao Yan, I will not use the ancient accumulation sacred flame to bet with you. If you really want to bet, I can bet a saint pill with you. The ancient sacred fire was one of the most precious things in the Sky Palace. Xian Hongzheng did not dare to take the risk, but at this moment he could not show any weakness. Moreover, he knew that Yi Qinfeng still had the first sacred fire, so he still had a chance. All right, I will bet with you. I hope that after you lose, you won't go back on your words. The value of a saint pill was also extremely precious. Although he did not manage to obtain the ancient sacred flame, obtaining a saint pill was still not a small gain. Yao Yan did not hesitate to agree. Don't worry, my Sky Hall can afford to lose a saint elixir pill. However, I feel that the final victor will be our Xian Hongzheng. He took out a white jade box with a large number of seals from his Qinquan ring and sealed it in midair. Even now, you're still so stubborn. I hope you can still be so calm after the competition. Yao Yan smiled faintly and also took out a jade box and sealed it in midair. Inside these 2 jade boxes were 2 saint elixirs that could cause a storm of blood and make Nirvana Heavenly Realm experts fight over them. Hall Master, do you really believe that Feng Qin can still turn the situation around? Hearing that Xian Hongzheng was betting with Yao Yan for a saint elixir pill of immeasurable value, Xian Qingyun and the others' expressions changed slightly. Until now, Yi Qinfeng had not stabilized the chaotic flame. Once he lost control, the saint elixir pill would explode. At that time, the Sky Hall would lose a saint elixir pill to Yao Yan. All right, let's watch the competition, Xian Hongzheng said calmly. His deep gaze pierced through the light barrier and locked onto Yi Qinfeng, who remained calm despite the chaos. Who? Looks like I can only reveal the sky-burning sacred fire. Even after using several alchemy techniques, he was still unable to stabilize the chaotic flame. Helpless, Yi Qinfeng used the second type of flame he had subdued. He spat out the sky-burning sacred fire and poured it into the vermilion bird cauldron. The sky-burning sacred fire's level was far higher than the death blaze heavenly flame. When the sky-burning sacred fire entered the vermilion bird cauldron, it immediately replaced the chaotic death blaze heavenly flame. In an instant, the violently trembling vermilion bird cauldron regained its calm. Oh, the sky-burning sacred fire. He still had this trump card. Looking at the sky-burning sacred fire summoned by Yi Qinfeng, Yao Yan's pupils unconsciously shrank. He did not expect that Yi Qinfeng, who was only a level 4 beast emperor, could actually subdue a sky-burning sacred fire. This made him even more suspicious that Yi Qinfeng was related to the Sky Hall. Just now, the flame went out of control and damaged some of the elixir's medicinal efficacy. He wondered if the spirit bead of life could replenish the missing medicinal efficacy. Feeling that the medicinal efficacy of the embryonic elixir was lacking, Yi Qinfeng continued to use his profound alchemy techniques. He infused the life force released by the spirit bead of life into the ancient elixir runes and into the embryonic elixir, restoring and increasing the medicinal efficacy of the elixir. Slowly, another day passed. The spirit bead of life was indeed a heavenly sacred artifact. After nearly a day of refining, Yi Qinfeng realized that the missing medicinal efficacy of the embryonic elixir had been restored by the spirit bead of life. Furthermore, after absorbing a large amount of life force, the celestial immortal ancient dew elixir showed signs of evolution. This made Yi Qinfeng secretly happy. He cleared away all distracting thoughts and wholeheartedly focused on refining the celestial immortal ancient dew elixir. The duration of the semifinals was 5 days long. However, no one left the viewing pavilion. They were all patiently waiting for the final result. When there was only a third of the fire sand left in the funnel, a sacred master from 9 Heavens God Kingdom was the first to refine a celestial immortal ancient dew pill and was the first to complete the competition. A 10-mark celestial immortal ancient dew elixir. Saint Master Half Moon from 9 Heavens Divine Kingdom was indeed extraordinary. He managed to refine the elixir to 10 marks in just 4 short days. With his alchemy skills, there was indeed hope for him to enter the top 3. Looking at the perfect 10-mark celestial immortal ancient dew elixir floating above Saint Master Half Moon's head, Xian Hongzheng and the others were full of praises. After Saint Master Half Moon from 9 Heavens Divine Kingdom, Saint Master Blood Dragon from 8 Head Divine Kingdom, and Saint Master Lai Feng from Kirin Kingdom also refined 10-mark celestial immortal ancient dew elixir. They sat cross-legged in their respective spaces to recover and wait for the final result. Because only Grandmaster Nirvana and the other 3 chose to refine the quasi-saint pill, Saint Master Half Moon, Saint Master Half Moon, and Saint Master Half Moon entered the final round without any suspense. Pung! On the last day, when the alchemists were using their mystical alchemy skills to speed up the condensation, a huge explosion sounded in one of the spaces. Saint Master Thousandbird from the demonic Pattern Valley made a small mistake at the last moment, causing the explosion of the elixir to go to waste. And he himself suffered from the backlash of the heavenly fire that went out of control in the cauldron and was heavily injured. Black, demonic, holy flame to speed up the condensation. At this time, the fire spirit Saint Sun, who was on the verge of death and had used up a lot of his soul power, used the black, demonic, holy flame hidden in the holy sovereign cauldron to speed up the condensation. Finally, when there was only half a day left, the fire spirit Saint Sun used the terrifying power of the black, demonic holy flame to finish the refinement before Fire Sky, Halberd, and the others. And with the help of the holy sovereign cauldron and the black, demonic holy flame, his celestial immortal ancient dew elixir also reached 10 marks. It was perfect. Mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1177. Yao Yan, you despicable bastard. Not only did you lend the holy cauldron to Fire Spirit, you also hid the black demon, holy flame you tamed in the holy cauldron. You are cheating. The moment the lid of the holy sovereign cauldron opened, wisps of black flames emerged. The experienced Xian Zhongting and the others immediately recognized that the black flames that emerged from the holy sovereign cauldron were the holy sovereign cauldron, black, demonic, holy flame that Yao Yan had subdued. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement, test the cheating. Yao Yan put down the teacup in his hand and looked at the furious Xian Zhongting and the others. He said calmly, I think you are slandering me. What evidence do you have to prove that I hid the black demon, holy flame, in the holy cauldron? If you can't afford to lose, then just say it. Don't find such a tasteless excuse. Although Xian Hongzhang and the others saw the black demon, holy flame, come out of the holy cauldron, they didn't have the evidence to take control of the holy cauldron. This was why Yao Yan was so fearless. You really can't change your bad habits. Thousands of years have passed, and you are still the same. Xian Hongxing's face also showed a trace of anger as he said angrily, the fire spirit Saint Sun used the holy cauldron and the black demon, holy flame, to make the 10 mark Yi Qinfeng first. This meant that Yi Qinfeng couldn't turn the tables and lost the competition between him and the fire spirit Saint Sun. More importantly, Yi Qinfeng made a mistake in the beginning, which greatly affected the quality of the elixir. It was basically impossible for him to make the 10 mark Immortal Ancient Dew elixir. He basically lost the chance to enter the finals. If Yao Yan didn't lend the holy cauldron and the black demon, holy flame, to the fire spirit Saint Sun, Yi Qinfeng might not have lost. It could be said that Yao Yan's despicableness directly changed the result and could change Yi Qinfeng's fate. Xian Hongzhang, I didn't expect you to be such a sore loser. How disappointing. Yao Yan responded with a smile, as if the thousands of years of grievances were all released at this moment. While Xian Hongzhang and the others were arguing with Yao Yan, the Holy Light Saint Master from the Sword Sect also finished making the elixir. Without a doubt, the Holy Light Saint Master made the 10 mark Immortal Ancient Dew elixir. If Master of Destruction and the others all made the Quasi-Saint elixir were all successful, then there would only one enter the finals. Buzz the space around the Fire Sky, Halberd, suddenly fluctuated. Endless tongues of flame were released from the medicine furnace that was spinning rapidly in front of him. In the next moment, Fire Sky, Halberd slammed his hands on the medicine furnace, and a celestial ancient dew pellet with a strong medicinal aroma flew out of the furnace and floated in the air. Not bad, not bad. 10 mark, heavenly immortal ancient dew pill. Seeing that Fire Sky Halberd had refined a perfect heavenly immortal ancient dew pill, Yao Yan's smile grew wider. He looked at the gloomy Xian Hongzheng and the others provocatively and said, Xian Hongzheng, what do you have to say now? Yao Yan, the competition isn't over yet. Isn't it too early for you to be happy? Xian Hong was currently glaring at Yao Yan, a thick, killing intent emerging in his heart. I think you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin, now that there are only 4 spots left for the finals. Do you think that kid still has a chance to advance? Yao Yan snorted and said, Don't tell me you think that kid can refine the Tianxian ancient Du Dan to the level of quasi-holy Dan. You hearing Yao Yan's repeated provocations, Grand Elder Xian Zhongting could no longer suppress the killing intent in his heart. What? You can't afford to lose and want to fight? I already knew that you Heavenly Hall are a bunch of hypocrites. Yao Yan sneered and said fearlessly, Xian Zhongting, I'm sitting right here. If you want to fight, then do it. If I can't kill you in 10 moves, then consider it my loss. Grand Elder, don't be impulsive. Don't fall into his trap. Seeing that Yao Yan wanted to make a big deal out of this, the gloomy Xian Hongzheng immediately transmitted his voice to him. Although in Xian Hongzheng's opinion, Yi Qinfeng was powerless to reverse the situation and had already lost if he were to make a move in front of so many people. What he would lose was not only his sacred pellet and his personal dignity. The Heavenly Hall's reputation would definitely be ruined because of this matter. In addition to his anger, Xian Hongzheng also regretted his impulsiveness. If he didn't want to use Yi Qinfeng to ruthlessly humiliate Yao Yan, then things wouldn't have ended up like this. Xian Zhongting, didn't you want to fight? Come, I'll wait for you here. Seeing that Xian Zhongting was suppressing his anger, Yao Yan's lips curled up slightly. He gave up his cold smile and continued to ridicule. Grand Elder, don't be angry. Did you forget that a dog can bite a man, but a man can bite a dog? Let's see how long he can keep shouting. Second Elder Xian Yunzhou was surprisingly calm. He glanced sharply at Yao Yan and coldly retorted, Fine, I'll let you deceive yourselves for a while. I hope you still have the face to stay here after the competition. Yao Yan's pupils shrank. He glanced at Xian Yunzhou and didn't say anything. But in his mind, he kept thinking about how he would humiliate Xian Hongzheng and the others after the competition. How he would use this as an excuse to ruin Heavenly Hall's reputation and make this alchemy competition a laughing stock. Just as the atmosphere was so stifling that he couldn't breathe, Great Master Naimi, who was known as the Saint of Alchemy, was the first to finish refining. Although he didn't use his full strength, he still refined a 7-rune quasi-sage pill and advanced to the finals without any suspense. Not long after Great Master Naimi finished refining, Great Master Dan Xan, Great Master Bai Luo, and Great Master Shuiwe also refined quasi-sage pills. Because they had held back their strength, the quasi-sage pills they refined were only 6-rune to 7-rune quasi-sage pills. But in less than 5 days, they had refined a high-quality quasi-sage pill. It was enough to show that the 4 of them represented the highest level of alchemy in the Central World. Seeing that Great Master Naimi and the others had finished refining their pills, Yao Yan's smile grew wider. On the other hand, Xian Hongzheng and the others were in complete despair. In their opinion, Yi Qinfeng was already powerless to reverse the situation. He had completely lost the chance to advance to the finals and turn the situation around. As the time drew to a close, Jiao Yan, who was second to last, finished refining her pill. She had performed exceedingly well and refined a 9-rune ancient Dao pill. Although the quality of her ancient Dao pill couldn't be compared to the celestial immortal ancient Du pill, it surpassed the 4-tier 9 heavenly masters. In addition to Heavenly Master Qiao, who had failed in refining her pill, Jiao Yan had obtained at least 15th place after the competition ended. Although this meant that Jiao Yan had lost the qualification to advance to the finals, this result still made Jiao Yan feel as though she was dreaming. She was extremely excited. Keeping the 9-rune ancient Dao pill in her hand, Jiao Yan looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was completely focused on refining his pill through an independent space. At this moment, other than Yi Qinfeng, all the other alchemists had finished their competition. There wasn't much time left. In Yao Yan's opinion, Yi Qinfeng was struggling before his death. He had been completely defeated. He had been utterly defeated. There was no suspense about his defeat. Finally, when the fire sand in the funnel was about to run out, the vermilion bird shadow spread its wings and flew into the air with the celestial immortal ancient Du Pill in its mouth. When Yao Yan saw that Yi Qinfeng's celestial immortal ancient Du Pill only had 3 pill runes through the light wall, he mercilessly laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with ridicule. On the other hand, Xian Hongzheng and the others revealed bitter smiles. The last trace of hope in their hearts had been shattered. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Collect button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open your bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1178. Xian Hongzheng, what else do you have to say now? A 3-mark, heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill? Your taste in choosing a successor is really too bad. Can that Saint Pill belong to me now? Yao Yan looked at the gloomy faces of Xian Hongzheng and the others and freely ridiculed them. What? You look down on my 3-mark, heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill? I can say that my heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill is many times better than your disciples. Yi Qinfeng, who had just walked out of the independent space, heard Yao Yan's ridicule and unceremoniously retorted, Feng Qin, have you lost your mind? A 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill is better than a 10-mark heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill? You are really stupid and ignorant. Yao Yan looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was calm and did not reveal a trace of depression, and coldly said, Feng Qin, at this time, are you still not going to admit defeat? You have already lost the qualifications to enter the finals, and I have advanced to the finals. The battle between you and me has already been decided. Shouldn't you kowtow to me 3 times and take out the saint pill that you stole from me? The flame spirit saint son looked at Yi Qinfeng mockingly, wanting to ruthlessly humiliate him. I really don't know if I am stupid, or you guys are stupid. Yi Qinfeng lightly sighed and raised his 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill high up in the air and said, Open your eyes and look carefully. The heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill that I refined has already surpassed the category of ancient Dao pills. It has reached the level of quasi-saint pill. As soon as Yi Qinfeng finished speaking, everyone's eyes simultaneously looked at the 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Du Pill in Yi Qinfeng's hand. Immediately after, the already despaired Xian Hongzheng and the others revealed an expression of disbelief. Even the turbid eyes of great Master Nirvana and the others revealed a strange expression. Impossible. The celestial ancient Du Pill was just an ancient path pill. It couldn't have reached the level of a quasi-divine pill. The fire spirit Saint Sun didn't believe Yi Qinfeng at all. He refuted loudly. Whether or not the celestial ancient Du Dan that I refined reached the level of quasi-sage Dan is not something that you can judge with your mouth. Yi Qinfeng looked at the flustered and exasperated flame, Spirit Saint Sun, and revealed a trace of sarcasm. He said, Yao Yan Qianbei, I wonder if you are willing to evaluate the level of the celestial ancient Du Dan that I refined with Xian Hall Master and the others. All right, I will personally appraise it and see if the 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Dao pill you refined is as mysterious as you say it is. When Yao Yan looked at the 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Dao pill in Yi Qinfeng's hand, he discovered that this ancient Dao pill was indeed somewhat unusual. The smile on his face gradually faded as he slowly walked over to Yi Qinfeng's side. Feng Qin, this old guy is extremely shameless. Don't give him the 3-mark heavenly immortal ancient Du Dan that you refined. Otherwise, he will use underhanded means to destroy the quality of your pill. Xian Hongzheng took a step forward and came to Yi Qinfeng's side. He reminded him in a low voice. Xian Hongzheng at this time, things had changed. Yao Yin no longer had the arrogance and haughtiness from before. His face gradually turned cold. "What? Do you think what I said is wrong?" Xian Hongzheng revealed a rare smile and said, "If you didn't cheat by lending the Holy Sage Cauldron and the Black Devil Holy Flame to your grand disciple, with his little ability, he could also refine the 10-mark Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan." As soon as Xian Hongzheng's words fell, many level 9 Heavenly Masters who lost the qualification for the finals all showed anger. The status of these level 9 Heavenly Masters was not simple. Being treated as enemies by them, the sacred Fire Valley's future days would not be easy. Xian Hongzheng, is it interesting to argue now? Let's first appraise the level of his unique pill. Yao Yin did not continue to argue with Xian Hongzheng. However, the twitching of his eyes was enough to prove that he was extremely angry. He did not expect this to happen. "Feng Chen, put the Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan that you refined on the lotus seat." Xian Hongzheng took out a golden lotus seat of extraordinary quality. When Yi Qin Feng placed the Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan in the center of the lotus seat, Xian Hongzheng, Yao Yan, and the others immediately released their powerful soul power into the 3-mark Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan to inspect the pill's quality. Grandmaster Nirvana, Grandmaster Pill Heart, and the others also immediately sent their soul power into the lotus seat to appraise the pill's grade. As the top alchemists of the central world appraised the Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan, the flame Spirit Saint's heart was extremely unsettled. If Yi Qin Feng really refined a quasi-saint Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan, then even if he advanced to the finals, his chances of defeating Yi Qin Feng were not high. Once he lost, not only would he lose face, but he would also have to give away the sacred Fire Valley's most powerful divine ability. After the competition, the sacred Fire Valley would be the enemy of many forces, including the Sky Hall. He could not bear the consequences of such a failure. "Feng Chen, tell me honestly, did you cheat? With your strength, it's impossible for you to refine a quasi-saint Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan." After repeatedly appraising it, Yao Yan had to admit that Yi Qin Feng's 3-mark Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan had indeed reached the quasi-saint Heavenly Immortal Ancient Du Dan. He could not accept this result and was even more furious. He glared fiercely at Yi Qin Feng. "Senior Yao Yan, don't think that you're despicable. Everyone is despicable. Cheating is something only a person with a bad character like you would do." Although Yao Yan was terrifying, Yi Qin Feng did not give him any face because he knew that if he continued to be patient, it would only make his enemy more arrogant. "Feng Chen, don't think that just because you have the support of the Sky Hall, you can speak to I in such a tone. If you anger me, no one will be able to protect you." Yao Yan no longer had his usual calmness and warned, "Yao Yan, can't you afford to lose? If you can't afford to lose, then just say it. There's no need to threaten a junior." Xian Hongzheng said coldly as he stood beside Yi Qin Feng, "It's not that I can't afford to lose, but there's a problem with the celestial ancient Du Pellet he refined. I don't believe in his results at all." Yao Yan slightly raised his eyelids and met Xian Hongzheng's sharp gaze. Flames surged as he slowly said, "Then what do I have to do to make you believe me?" Yi Qin Feng sneered, "Unless I provides a Dan recipe and you refine the Dan in front of everyone. If you can raise the level of the Dan provided by I, then I will recognize your results. If you can't do it, then you're cheating and your results must be nullified." Yao Yan deliberately made things difficult for Yi Qin Feng. "No problem, you can provide the Dan recipe. As long as there's no problem with the Dan recipe, I can raise the level of the Dan." Out of everyone's expectations, Yi Qin Feng agreed very straightforwardly. This caused Yao Yan to unconsciously furrow his brows. "Yao Yan, this is just a test. The Dan recipe you provide cannot be higher than a middle-grade Dao Dan. Otherwise, you're guilty and deliberately making things difficult for great Elder Xian Hongzheng." "Humph!" Yao Yan coldly snorted. In front of Great Master Jimia, Great Master Dan Xin, and the others, he couldn't put down his old face to make things difficult for Yi Qinfeng. He took out a yellowed parchment scroll from his Qinquan ring and said, "There's no problem with this low-grade Dao Dan. Jiao Li Dan, right?" Jiao Li Dan is the most common low-grade Dao Dan. After taking it, you will have the power of a Jiao dragon for a short period of time. Good. Then let's refine this Jiao Li Dan. Yi Qinfeng very readily agreed. In order to avoid you saying I cheated, you still provide the herbs. Here. Yao Yan opened his big hand, and 16 herbs appeared in front of Yi Qinfeng. Grabbing these 16 herbs, Yi Qinfeng repeatedly checked them. After making sure there was no problem, he threw them all into the Zhu cauldron. For Yi Qinfeng, low-grade Dao Dan was no challenge at all. Yi Qinfeng only used a stick of incense thyme to purify all 16 herbs. Borrowing the power of the spiritual beat of life, he began to condense Dan patterns and improve the quality of the Jiao Li Dan. In just half an hour, Yi Qinfeng condensed the Jiao Li Dan. He suddenly slapped the hot Zhu cauldron, and a dark green Jiao Li Dan flew out. Middle grade Dao Danwen, the fire spirit Saint Sun, Fire Sky Halberd, and the others felt the level of the Jiao Li Dan refined by Yi Qinfeng. It was as if they were struck by lightning. Their minds went blank, and they were all dumbfounded. Mobile reading site. Book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the bookmark at the bottom to record this reading record. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1179. Yao Yan Qianbei. What else do you have to say? Yi Qinfeng held up the Jiao Li Dan in his hand proudly, looking at the gloomy Yao Yan, and asked with a smile. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement, test heroes, indeed, come from the young. Yao Yan looked at Yi Qinfeng with eyes as sharp as knives. After a few breaths, he spat out a few words in a low voice. Haha, Fengchen, you really opened our eyes today. You don't know how arrogant Yao Yan was these few days when you were refining pills. He even deliberately used the sacred elixir to make a bet. Now that I think about it, it's really funny. Xian Zhongting would never let go of such an opportunity and would constantly open Yao Yan's scars. Sacred elixir, what a big deal. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, "It's just that his disciple and disciple's disciple are too disappointing." In fact, he didn't want to bet on the sacred elixir at first, but he wanted the ancient sacred fire of the heavenly palace. Now it seems that we really should make a bet with him. Aya, what a pity. Yi Qinfeng pretended to be surprised and said, "But it's not too late now. I don't know if Qianbei still wants to bet. If you do, I'm willing to bet with you on the result of the finals between me and your disciple's disciple. Fengchen, I advise you not to take advantage of others." Yao Yan's eyes twitched as he warned coldly. Aya, what a coincidence. I like to take advantage of others. Yi Qinfeng said with an exaggerated expression. Oh, right, Qianbei, I have a question to ask you. If I really lose, what will you do? Will you also take advantage of others? Kid, the Central Continent is not peaceful. Be careful when you go out. Yao Yan had never been so sullen before, much less suffered such humiliation. Looking at the overbearing and incomparably arrogant Yi Qinfeng, his lungs were about to explode from anger. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he couldn't teach Yi Qinfeng a lesson. Once he did, Xian Hongzheng and the others who had been suppressing their anger for a long time would definitely retaliate with lightning speed. Thank you for your reminder. I'll be careful. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said fearlessly, I'll also give you a word of advice. People need face, trees need bark. Being shameless doesn't mean you're invincible. Interesting boy. I'll remember what you said. Yao Yan said coldly. He took back the holy sovereign cauldron that was lent to the fire spirit Saint Sun. He left behind the lost Saint Pellet and turned to leave the fire god shrine. He was afraid that if he didn't leave now, he would be angered to death by Yi Qinfeng. Fire Sky Halberd, Fire Spirit, the results of the competition haven't been calculated yet. You can't leave. If you leave without permission, I have the right to take away your results. Xianhong looked at Fire Sky Halberd and the Flame Spirit Saint Sun, who wanted to leave with Yao Yan. He warned them coldly. Hearing Xian Hongjing's warning, Fire Sky Halberd and Fire Sky Halberd could only stay obediently. After all, if they insisted on leaving, it would be equivalent to breaking off relations with the Heavenly Hall, giving the Heavenly Hall an excuse to take revenge on the sacred Fire Valley. Fire Spirit, don't look like your father is dead. Your father isn't dead yet, and you didn't really lose to me. We still have one last round. Yi Qinfeng looked at the gloomy face of the Flame Spirit Saint Sun, who was no longer arrogant, and teased him with a faint smile. Hearing Yi Qinfeng's teasing, Fire Sky Halberd and the Flame Spirit Saint Sun were angry but didn't dare to say anything. They could only curse Yi Qinfeng in their hearts. Okay, put your elixirs on this lotus seat. We'll appraise them one by one and rank them, Xian Hongzheng said. After Xian Hongzheng and the others' strict appraisal, the final ranking came out. Master Jimia, Master Dan Xian, Master Bai Luo, and Master Shuiyu, who had refined the quasi-sage elixir, were ranked in the top 4. Yi Qinfeng was ranked 5th because he had refined the celestial ancient dew elixir to the level of quasi-sage elixir. He had squeezed out Fire Sky Halberd and successfully entered the finals. The finals were set to be held 2 days later. Although the Holy Son of Fire Spirit had also entered the final round with his alchemy speed, he had lost the Holy Honorable Cauldron and the Black Demonic Holy Flame. With his alchemy skills, it was impossible for him to refine the 10 Runes Ancient Path elixir. If nothing went wrong, he would lose the competition against Yi Qinfeng. Flame Spirit Saint Sun, our competition hasn't ended yet. Don't sneak away. Yi Qinfeng looked at the gloomy face of the Flame Spirit Saint Sun and said deliberately, Palace Master Xian, can we leave now? Fire Sky Halberd glared at Yi Qinfeng, who kept humiliating him. He then shifted his gaze to Xian Hongzheng and the others and asked in a low voice, You can leave now. Remember, before the competition ends, no one is allowed to leave Fire God City. Xian Hongjing nodded and instructed coldly, Let's go. Fire Sky Halberd and his son did not have the face to stay any longer and left awkwardly. Palace Master Xian, we're leaving too. Master Nirvana and the others also left. However, before they left, they looked at Yi Qinfeng with deep meaning. Obviously, Yi Qinfeng's ability to increase the grade of his elixir pills had piqued their interest. They were even more surprised by Yi Qinfeng's alchemy skills. Feng Qin, it's all thanks to you today. If you had lost, our Sky Hall would have suffered a crushing defeat and we would have been humiliated by Yao Yan. In order to thank you, I'll give you this divine elixir pill that we won and this divine elixir pill in my hand. Xian Hongzheng opened his hand and received the 2 jade boxes that were suspended in midair. He generously gave them to Yi Qinfeng. Senior, this is too precious. Yi Qinfeng knew the value of the divine elixir pill and did not accept it. Feng Qin, this is what I won against Yao Yan, and it is also what you won against Yao Yan. You don't have to be polite. Moreover, it is worth it to be able to see Yao Yan suffer and leave in anger. Xian Hongzheng said with a smile, That's right. Your reversal just now was too satisfying. I think that, in this lifetime, Yao Yan will not have the face to come to my Fire God City. As for this stain, he will never be able to wash it off. Great Elder Xian Hongzheng said, All right, then this junior will not be polite. Seeing that Xian Hongzheng and the others insisted on giving him the 2 divine elixir pills of immeasurable value, Yi Qinfeng did not decline and accepted the 2 divine elixir pills. Feng Qin, can you tell us your master's name? We really want to know what kind of almighty being was able to nurture such a shocking talent like you. Xian Hongzheng asked curiously, I'm sorry, Palace Master Xian, but my master is a wandering crane and has long stopped caring about the matters of the world. Therefore, this junior cannot reveal my master's name." Yi Qin-feng started to fabricate. I was too abrupt. Although Yi Qin-feng did not say it clearly, the information revealed in his words shook the hearts of Xian Hongzheng and the others. They guessed that Yi Qin-feng's master's strength was probably at an unimaginable level. Only those supreme experts who had long since hidden themselves could nurture a peerless genius like Yi Qin-feng. That's right, Feng Qin, you must be extremely careful when you travel in the central continent. That old fellow Yao Yan is a vengeful person. You must be careful of his revenge, Xian Hongzheng kindly reminded. Don't worry, senior. Although this junior is not his opponent, if he wants to kill me, it won't be that easy. Yi Qin-feng smiled slightly, revealing a trace of confidence. Yi Qin-feng chatted with Xian Hongzheng and the others in the Fire God Temple for a while before leaving with Zhao Yuyan. Watching Yi Qin-feng's departing figure, Xian Hongzheng and the others developed a strong interest in Yi Qin-feng, who had repeatedly created miracles. They really wanted to know if he could create another miracle and rush into the top 3 in the final round of the alchemy competition. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read next time, you can click on the Save button below to record this reading record. Next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1180. Feng Qin, you gave us another surprise today. To be honest, we thought you were going to lose, but we didn't expect you to have a trump card and reverse the situation. Wang Tian Marquis and the others, who had been waiting outside the Fire God Shrine, saw Yi Qin-feng and Zhao Yan finally walk out of the Fire God Shrine. Regardless of whether it was Yi Qin-feng or Zhao Yan, their results today had far exceeded the expectations of Wang Tian Marquis and the others. Especially Yi Qin-feng's method of turning the situation around was something they had never heard of before, causing them to be extremely shocked. They could imagine how prosperous Wangtian Pavilion would be in the future with Yi Qin-feng and Zhao Yuyan in charge. Wangtian Capital would also benefit from this and develop rapidly. Let's go back and talk, Marquis. Yi Qin-feng looked at the excited Wangtian Marquis and the others and smiled. He didn't stay in the Fire God Shrine for long. Under the gazes of many people, he walked toward the ancient courtyard where the Tao addict was blocking. Look, it's Feng Qin. He's so handsome. Yes, especially his eyes. They're really charming. Yi Qin-feng's performance in the past few days was too amazing, so more people recognized him. Especially his method of reversing the situation today. Many people were convinced by him. On the way to the ancient courtyard, Yi Qin-feng and his group attracted a lot of attention, especially some women, who were even more fond of Yi Qin-feng. They hid on the side and whispered. As they walked, a petite girl wearing a jade-green silk dress suddenly walked out from the crowd. Her round face had 2 seductive blushes, and there was a hint of shyness in her dark eyes. She came to Yi Qin-feng's side and said, Feng Qin, I want to be friends with you. Is that okay? Hearing the shy voice of the woman in green dress, many pedestrians on the street looked at them with smiling eyes. Even Wang Tian Marquis showed a smile. Making friends looking at the cute and charming woman in front of him, Yi Qin-feng showed a trace of vigilance, because he remembered that the Phantom's assassins were all women, so he had to be careful. Suddenly, a sharp sword gleam flew out from the crowd and slashed toward Yi Qin-feng at a speed exceeding several hundred light speed. Even though the might of this sudden sword light was shocking, Yi Qin-feng's reaction was even swifter. His right hand slapped out like a bolt of lightning, causing numerous Grand Tao insights to swiftly condense into a fist light that was like a meteor, and it dragged out a dazzling shadow of the Tao as it shattered the sword light that assaulted him with a single punch. However, the instant Yi Qin-feng shattered the sword light, killing intent burst out from the eyes of the cute girl wearing a jade-green dress. 3 black pearls filled with destructive energy appeared in her hand and shot towards Yi Qin-feng at an extremely fast speed, as well as Jiao Yian beside him. Flash, world-shaking power erupted from Yi Qinfeng's body and pushed Jiao Yian away like a stormy sea, using his own body to block the 3 black destruction beads. Boom! 3 loud explosions rang out, and the wanton destructive energy instantly engulfed Yi Qinfeng, crazily destroying his body. More than half of the street was destroyed by these 3 terrifying explosions. Even the buildings that were enveloped in restrictions were affected, and they were covered with spider-web-like cracks. Wind and Dust Jiaoyan, who was firmly protected behind the Wangtian marquee, saw Yi Qinfeng being engulfed by the destructive energy, and her entire heart shattered. She cried out in pain, afraid that something would happen to him. "Open for me." The Tao addict, who had rushed over, roared and released her Tao insights, directly tearing apart the destructive energy that was getting more and more intense. She then rescued the heavily injured Yi Qinfeng from the destructive energy. The Black Lightning Monarch, who had captured the furious Tao addict alive, shouted loudly, "Leave it to me." The Black Lightning Monarch's body flashed, and he strangely disappeared from where he was. As he rapidly flew, his blurred body split into several afterimages, grabbing at the phantom assassins who had successfully launched a sneak attack and wanted to escape. In the blink of an eye, the phantom assassins who had escaped tens of thousands of meters away were caught by the Black Lightning Monarch and his split afterimages. But in the next moment, the 2 phantom assassins suddenly exploded their bodies, not giving the Black Lightning Monarch a chance to capture them alive. "Fengqin, how are you?" Looking at Yi Qinfeng, who was covered in blood and seriously injured, Jiao Yian's eyes suddenly turned red, and she asked with pity, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Yi Qinfeng, who was covered in blood, quickly swallowed a Tao pill, slowly sat up, shook his head, and said weakly, although Yi Qinfeng relied on his high-grade Tao artifact body to resist the fatal triple attack of the 3 black pearls of destruction, the frightening scene just now still left him with lingering fear. If the 3 black pearls of destruction were a little stronger, he was afraid that his body would not be able to withstand it and would be blown to pieces in an instant. Absolute Sword scored them back. I'm going to settle the score with Yao Yan. Under her protection, Yi Qinfeng was still injured by the phantom assassins. This made the Tao addict feel ashamed, and she said angrily, "Settle the score with me? Do you think I did this?" A cold voice suddenly sounded, and Yao Yan, who was wearing a black alchemist robe with a gloomy face, suddenly appeared. He looked coldly at the Tao addict and said in a low voice, "Yao Yan, don't be hypocritical. I feel that the person behind the assassination of Fengqin is you." The Tao addict glared at Yao Yan, and the murderous aura in her body became stronger and stronger. She could not help but want to attack. The Tao addict sneered and said, "Tao addict, don't you think your words are childish? I admit that I want to kill him. But in the Fire God City, do you think I will take this risk? And if I really want to kill him, I need the help of an assassin organization. I think in the entire Central World, there are more people who are willing to work for me than the 4 of you. Yao Yan, I am a stubborn person. Now I think you are not a good person, and I want to teach you a lesson," the Tao addict said overbearingly. "Tao addict, do you really think I am afraid of you?" Yao Yan's deep eyes flickered with 2 small flames, and he said without showing weakness, "The 2 people who stood at the top of the Central World were about to fight on the chaotic street. Tao addict, maybe he is not the real murderer. Let's not be used by others." Just as the 2 were about to draw their swords, the Absolute Sword suddenly stood in front of the Tao addict and said in a low voice, "Tao addict, learn more from the Absolute Sword. Sometimes the brain is more useful than the feelings." Yao Yan looked coldly at the angry Yao Yan, and then glanced at Yi Qinfeng, who was seriously injured and sitting cross-legged to heal himself. Then he turned and left. "Absolute Sword, if you were willing to help me just now, with the strength of the 4 of us, we could have killed that old man." The Tao addict looked at the Absolute Sword in front of her and said indignantly, "Tao addict, you should calm down. There are many suspicious points about the assassination of Feng Qin. Even if the four of us join forces, we may not be able to kill him. More importantly, Yao Yan's appeal is indeed greater than ours. It is not wise to fight with him until one of us dies without sufficient evidence. Although the absolute sword was more powerful than Yao Yan, he was not sure that he could kill him. More importantly, the absolute sword also had some misgivings about Yao Yan's appeal and did not want to be used by others. So he kept persuading the Tao addict. Senior Tao addict, senior absolute sword is right. Now is not the time for revenge. But no matter who that person is, I will definitely find him out from behind the scenes and kill him with my own hands. With the help of the Taoist elixir and the spiritual pearl of life, Yi Qinfeng stabilized his injuries and stood up slowly. His voice revealed an incomparably strong belief. Well, let's go back and talk about it. Under the persuasion of Yi Qinfeng and the absolute sword, the Tao addict gradually calmed down and led Yi Qinfeng and others back to the ancient courtyard. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to facilitate your next reading, you can click on the Collect button below to record this reading record. Next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1181. What? When Feng Qin returned, he was assassinated by Phantom's assassins. His injuries are serious. Xian Hongzheng was furious when he heard the news. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement test. He did not expect the Phantom's assassins to be so arrogant. They openly challenged the Sky Hall's authority and assassinated Yi Qinfeng, who had helped them before. Pass down my orders. Lock down Fire God City and strengthen our defenses. Then open a bounty for the location of Phantom's headquarters and declare war on Phantom. Xian Hongzheng displayed the true colors of an ambitious and ruthless person as he passed down an important order. Yes, Hall Master. Great Guardian Xian Zhangxin obeyed and immediately went to pass down Xian Hongzheng's order. Under the Sky Hall's terrifying rallying power, the revenge against Phantom was officially launched. After returning to the ancient courtyard, Yi Qinfeng, who was heavily injured, immediately went into seclusion in his room. He used the spiritual pearl of life to recover his injuries. If he couldn't fully recover in the remaining time, it would definitely affect his results in the finals. Fortunately, the spiritual pearl of life was heaven-defying. He also had many healing treasures on him. In less than a day, Yi Qinfeng's injuries were healed. He began to adjust his condition in his room. Very quickly, 2 days had passed, and the main event of the alchemy competition was about to begin. The Fire God City, which was in a state of panic, became lively again. Feng Qin, how are your injuries? Jiao Yiyan and the others, who had been waiting anxiously for 2 days, saw Yi Qinfeng walking out of his room in good spirits. They quickly went up and asked with concern, "Don't worry, I've already recovered. Let's go to the Fire God Shrine." Yi Qinfeng smiled and said softly, after knowing that Yi Qinfeng's injuries had already recovered. Jiao Yuyan's heart finally settled down. She revealed a charming smile and accompanied Yi Qinfeng to the Fire God Shrine. Because of the repeated assassination attempts, the Tao addict and the 4 absolute swords personally accompanied them. They were afraid that an accident would happen again. At this time, the Fire God City had entered the highest state of alert. A large number of experts were dispatched to protect the Fire God Shrine. Yi Qinfeng was their main target of protection. Along the way to the Fire God Shrine, a large number of experts secretly followed them, causing Yi Qinfeng's aura to be full, which attracted a lot of attention. "Boy, do your best and try to enter the top 5. The Tao addict patted Yi Qinfeng on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry, senior. This junior will definitely enter the top 3. The corners of Yi Qinfeng's mouth rose slightly as a confident smile appeared on his face. Under Jiao Yuyan's cheers, he calmly walked into the Fire God Temple. "Top 3! Hearing Yi Qinfeng's confident voice, the eyes of the Tao addict and the others suddenly lit up. If Yi Qinfeng really had the strength to enter the top 3, he would be of great help to them. More importantly, the top 3 positions in the Heavenly Palace's refinement technique competition were extremely valuable. If Yi Qinfeng could really make it into the top 3, it would be enough to cause people to fear him. There would be even more experts who would pledge their allegiance to him, and he would be able to call the wind and summon the rain. Feng Chen, are you all right? When Yi Qinfeng passed through the restriction of the palace door and walked into the Fire God Temple, Xian Hongzheng, who had been waiting in the Fire God Temple for a long time, immediately stood up from the armchair and asked with concern. At this time, other than Xian Hongzheng and the other Heavenly Palace's big shots, there were more than 10 people in the Fire God Temple, although Yi Qinfeng only knew Tu Wangtian and Di Mingyue. Judging from the auras of the other people, their identities were definitely not weaker than Tu Wangtian. They were all big shots in the Central World. Thank you for your concern, Palace Master Xian. This junior has already recovered and will not affect today's competition. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said softly, That's good. Xian Hongzheng was relieved and said, If your results were affected because of the assassination, us old fellows will really be unable to feel at ease. However, the people of Phantom dared to openly provoke my Heavenly Palace and assassinate you in the Fire God City. It's too hateful. My Heavenly Palace has officially declared war on Phantom and attacked them. Thank you, Palace Master Xian. Yi Qinfeng's heart warmed as he said, gratefully, Feng Qin, I am the Torrential Devil King of the Octave Divine Kingdom. If you have time, come to my Octave Imperial City as a guest. At that time, I will let Princess Hanyan accompany you for a good stroll. After seeing Yi Qinfeng's astonishing alchemy talent and heaven-defying methods, the Torrential Devil King of the Octave Divine Kingdom put down his pride and slowly walked over. He had the intention of using Shui Hanyan as bait to rope him in. If I have time, I will definitely go to Octave Imperial City. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said in a neither arrogant nor servile manner, Feng Qin, some time ago, my Kirin Kingdom might have had a little unpleasant encounter with you. But don't worry, today's incident will not happen again. At this time, the Qianxin King of the Kirin Kingdom, who was wearing a dark golden robe embroidered with a flood dragon, walked over and also put down his pride to exchange greetings with Yi Qinfeng. Looking at the Torrential Devil King, the Qianxin King favored Yi Qinfeng and wanted to rope him in. Tu Wang, who had bullied Yi Qinfeng before, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. He was furious in his heart, but he really couldn't put down his old face to apologize, so he could only close his eyes and turn a deaf ear. Not only did the two divine kingdoms have a strong interest in Yi Qinfeng, but the Hidden Forces' vast Heaven Palace and Sword Sects elders were also interested in Yi Qinfeng and stepped forward to chat. For a time, Yi Qinfeng became the most popular person in the Fire God Temple, the only focus of attention. The Fire Spirit Saint, who had arrived early and was standing in a remote corner, was even more aggrieved. Even in his dreams, he had never thought that he would fall into such a situation. Thinking of the consequences of losing to Yi Qinfeng, he had the urge to vomit blood. Making him kneel and apologize to Yi Qinfeng in front of everyone was worse than killing him. Okay, the time has come. Everyone, please return to the spectator seats. Xian Hongzheng saw that the 10 top alchemists who had entered the finals had all arrived, so he immediately asked the people around Yi Qinfeng to return to the spectator seats. He slowly said, Today's finals have the same rules as before. Whoever can refine the highest level pill and the best quality pill will be the final winner. And during the fair period, the pill recipes and herbs will still be provided by my Sky Hull. After saying that, Xian Hongzheng took out 50 jade strips. Among these 50 jade strips, only 10 were ancient path pill recipes. The remaining 40 jade strips were all quasi-sage pill recipes. Taking out 40 quasi-sage pill recipes at once was enough to show how terrifying the Sky Hall's foundation was. Without hundreds of thousands or even millions of years of inheritance, the Sky Hall would never be able to take out so many quasi-sage pill recipes. Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill, one of the quasi-sage pills. It can increase the strength of a Nirvana Heavenly Realm expert and cleanse the Great Tao without any side effects. Refining the pill requires 240 kinds of heaven and earth spirit herbs. Yi Qinfeng released his soul and quickly browsed through the 50 jade strips. After thinking for a while, he did not choose the highest level quasi-sage pill. Instead, he chose the second level Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill. Although the Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill's quality was not as good as the Royal Quasi-Sage Pill, it was above the other quasi-sage pills and was extremely difficult to refine. Seeing his choice, not only were Xian Hongzheng and the others shocked, but even Tu Tianwang and the others, who were watching the battle, were in disbelief. If Yi Qinfeng could really refine the Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill, with his age and potential, it was enough for the 3 divine kingdoms to put down their pride and try to rope him in. This Feng Chen's alchemy skills are really so high. He's reached the highest level in the central world. Various unbelievable thoughts appeared in everyone's minds. On the other hand, the despairing flame spirit Saint Sun was pleasantly surprised. In his opinion, Yi Qinfeng's choice was undoubtedly suicidal. As long as Yi Qinfeng failed and he succeeded, he would still be the final victor. Thus, he chose the Ancient Path pill with the lowest difficulty. Besides Yi Qinfeng, who chose the Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill, Master Dan Xian, Master Bai Luo, and the others also chose the Great Void Quasi-Sage Pill. Master Nirvana, who had the highest chance of winning, chose the Royal Quasi-Sage Pill with the highest difficulty. The Royal Quasi-Sage Pill was one of the most powerful body-tempering pills in the Central World. It was also the only quasi-sage pill that could attract a pill tribulation. All right, since everyone has already chosen a pill formula, then everyone please enter the mustard seed space and prepare to refine the pills. The finals will last for 10 days. I hope everyone can perform above their usual standards and refine high-quality pills. Xian Hongzheng loudly announced. After saying that, Yi Qinfeng and the others flew into the various spatial rifts that had opened up one after another. The finals were about to begin. Mobile reading site. Book address. To make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1182. After several rounds of the alchemy competition, Yi Qinfeng's alchemy skills had greatly improved, and he was even more familiar with the world's spirit grasses. Watermark advertisement, test test in just over 6 hours. He had fully comprehended the medicinal properties of 240 spirit grasses of heaven and earth. He summoned the vermilion bird cauldron and sprayed the sky-burning holy fire into it to ignite it. According to the order, he threw the extremely valuable spirit grasses of heaven and earth into the vermilion bird cauldron to be purified. Hall Master Xian, do you think this Feng Chen can refine the Taishu quasi-sage pill? The tall and straight demon wave king was wearing a black robe with golden edges. His eyes sparkled like stars. Through the light barrier, he looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was concentrating on refining pills, and sent a voice transmission to him. What? Does Demon Wave King want to win over Feng Chen? Xian Hongzheng took a sip of green spirit tea and put down the teacup. I do have plans to win him over, but I don't know if Hall Master Xian is willing to be the middleman. After the matter is done, my 8-head divine country will definitely give you a generous gift. Demon Wave King didn't hide his purpose and said, Demon Wave King, I'm afraid I can't help you with this. After all, after the competition, I think there will be many powers interested in him. And this little guy's background is not simple, so whether you can win him over to your 8-head divine country will depend on your ability. Xian Hongzheng replied. Demon Wave King frowned and said, Hall Master Xian, I wonder if you can tell me more about Feng Chen's background. All right, since we're so close, I'll tell you a little bit. This Feng Chen has a master who has been in seclusion for a long time, and his master is very likely someone from the previous era. Xian Hong told me this through sound transmission. Demon Wave King from the previous era sucked in a breath of cold air and said in surprise, His master has lived for more than 100,000 years? This is just my guess. But to be able to cultivate such a peerless genius, his master's ability is probably beyond our imagination. Xian Hongzheng said, Hall Master Xian, what do you think this Feng Chen will get in the end? Demon Wave King pondered and asked, At first, I predicted that his ranking would be around the 10th place, but now it seems that he is far better than I thought. I think he has a chance to break into the top 3. Thinking of Yi Qinfeng's method of increasing the grade of medicinal pills, Xian Hongzheng had a bold guess about his final result. The first 3 torrential demon kings sucked in a deep breath and fell into deep thought, thinking of how to win over Yi Qinfeng. He could imagine that if Yi Qinfeng was as outstanding as Xian Hongzheng had guessed, then after the competition, the 3 divine nations and the reclusive powers would all throw him an olive branch. After all, at his age, there was still a lot of potential to be unearthed. His future development would be even more limitless. Maybe he really could become the chief pill saint of the Central World. Maybe a honey trap would work. Thinking about the ambiguous relationship between Shui Hanyan and Yi Qinfeng, the corners of monstrous Demon King's mouth curled up. During the competition, it was not only Demon Wave King who asked Xian Hongzheng about Yi Qinfeng. The 9 Heavens Divine Kingdom and Kirin Kingdoms people were also constantly sending messages to Xian Hongzheng, wanting to know about Yi Qinfeng in advance. Knowing that Yi Qinfeng had an immeasurably powerful master, as well as his possible ranking, the 2 divine nations people were also racking their brains, thinking of ways to win him over. Very quickly, 2 days passed. Under the heaven-burning holy flame and the vermilion bird cauldron's refinement, 240 herbs were purified by Yi Qinfeng, turning into a large amount of pure and flawless spiritual liquid that floated in the vermilion bird cauldron. Just the first step of purification took me 2 days. This great void quasi-holy pill is truly ridiculously difficult to refine. After purifying all the herbs, Yi Qinfeng immediately swallowed 2 drops of soul-returning liquid to recover his soul force. Then he continued to spray a large amount of heaven-burning, holy flame into the vermilion bird cauldron, increasing the power of the flame and starting to fuse the spiritual liquid into the pill. However, the difficulty of refining a quasi-holy pill was far greater than refining an ancient Tao holy pill. Moreover, refining quasi-holy pill runes was even more complicated. With Yi Qinfeng's superb alchemy skills and soul realm as a 3-star Tao saint, he would need more than an hour to refine a single quasi-holy pill rune. This was also why the competition lasted for 10 days. There was a change. The spirit bead of life could transform a quasi-holy pill's quality. When Yi Qinfeng borrowed the spiritual pearl of life to fuse the quasi-sage elixir markings into the embryonic form of the elixir, he realized that as the quasi-sage elixir markings fused into the embryonic form of the elixir started to change subtly. And this discovery made his hanging heart fall to the ground. The spirit bead of life was truly worthy of being a sacred treasure. It could actually transform a quasi-holy pill into a holy pill. As long as I can refine a holy pill, I will have a great chance of defeating Grandmaster Nirvana and becoming the final champion. Buzz! Buzz! After around 4 days, the cauldron floating in front of the flame spirit saint suddenly burst into flames. A thick medicinal fragrance spread out from the cauldron. A deep blue ancient Tao holy pill with 9 runes on it rolled violently in the flames. Bang! The flame spirit saint slapped the hot cauldron, and a 9-rune ancient Tao holy pill shot out from the cauldron. Although the fire spirit saint was the first to complete the competition and had performed exceptionally well in concocting the 9-rune ancient path pill, very few people paid attention to him because he was the only one among the 10 who chose the ancient path pill. In addition, many people had heard of his hostile relationship with Yi Qin-feng. Feng Qin, I don't believe that you can be so heaven-defying as to refine the great void quasi-holy pill. When you fail, I will return the humiliation you brought me tenfold. Holding the hot 9-rune ancient Tao holy pill in his hand, the flame spirit saint kept cursing Yi Qin-feng in his heart, praying that he would fail. If Yi Qin-feng wasn't there, he believed that he would be the biggest dark horse in this Sky Hall competition. He would be the target of everyone's admiration. However, Yi Qin-feng had ruined all of this. Therefore, he hated Yi Qin-feng. If given the chance, he would definitely deal a fatal blow to Yi Qin-feng. After another 4 days, Master Bai Luo, who was wearing a dark brown robe and was slightly thin, was the second to finish refining the 9-rune Great Void Quasi-Holy Pill. Although he didn't refine the Great Void Quasi-Holy Pill into a perfect 10-rune ancient Tao Holy Pill, his result was amazing enough. Everyone in the Kirin Kingdom was extremely excited. The viewing pavilion that the Kirin Kingdom had booked was filled with excited shouts. Not long after Master Bai Luo finished, Master Dan Xan, who was on par with him, also finished refining. Because the Great Void Quasi-Holy Pill was extremely difficult to refine. Even with Master Dan Xan's ability, he couldn't refine the 10-rune ancient Tao Holy Pill. In the end, just like Master Bai Luo, he refined a 9-rune Great Void Quasi-Holy Pill and ended his competition. Master Dan Xan wasn't satisfied with this result because this result wasn't enough for him to enter the top 3. If Yi Qin-feng created another miracle and performed above his usual standards, he would be squeezed out of the top 3 by Yi Qin-feng. Only the heavens knew if Yi Qin-feng could create another miracle. Mobile reading website. Book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this book. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1183. As time passed, many sacred masters finished refining their pills. However, because the quality of the quasi-sage pills they chose was far from the Great Void quasi-sage pill, no one was able to shake Master Bai Luo and Master Dan Xan's rankings. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement test, however, the 2 people who were most likely to mess up the rankings still hadn't finished refining their pills. Therefore, the top 3 of this alchemy competition had yet to be decided. Rumble. When the 9th day arrived, the silent void suddenly resounded with the sound of thunder. Dark clouds suddenly appeared in the bright sky without any warning. It covered the sun, causing the entire fire god city to turn from day to night. It was exceptionally gloomy. Within the dark clouds, thunder rumbled and lightning bolts danced. The terrifying aura was extremely terrifying. Pill tribulation. Master Nirvana's Huang Quasi-Sage pill actually attracted a pill tribulation. Could it be that Master Nirvana's Huang Quasi-Sage pill had surpassed the Quasi-Sage pill level? Looking at the dark clouds and the lightning bolts in the dark clouds, many people's bodies froze. They revealed a look of disbelief. Some people even trembled at the sight of the pill tribulation in the sky. They even had the thought of worshipping it. Restrictions open. When the pill tribulation appeared, Xian Hongjing didn't hesitate. He immediately opened up multiple layers of spatial restrictions so that Master Nirvana's Huang Quasi-Sage pill could better withstand the pill tribulation. Once the Huang Quasi-Sage pill could withstand the pill tribulation, its quality would very likely surpass the Quasi-Sage pill and reach the Saint pill level. Master Nirvana truly lived up to his name. It seemed that other than a few old monsters in seclusion, No one else in the central world could defeat nirvana in alchemy. Looking at the pale tribulation in the sky, Master Bai Luo and Master Dan Exan sighed softly. They were completely convinced by Master Nirvana's alchemy skills. Yi Qinfeng, who was focused on refining pills, only glanced at the dark tribulation clouds. He got rid of all distracting thoughts and continued to refine pills. The spatial restrictions opened up and a thick medicinal fragrance filled the air. Just smelling the fragrance of the Huang quasi-sage pill was enough to shake one's mind. It was enough to show how shocking Master Nirvana's Huang quasi-sage pill was. Sensing the appearance of the pill tribulation, the Huangji quasi-sage pill that was rolling violently in the blue flames seemed to have a life of its own. It sensed the danger and fell into a state of restlessness. It kept attacking the medicinal cauldron, and the sound of metal hitting metal could be heard. The royal quasi-saint pellet was out of control, but the experienced great Master Ji Mia didn't panic. His old hands were like flowing water. They weaved a lot of mysterious patterns into the cauldron. He increased the power of the flames in the cauldron and suppressed the royal quasi-saint pellet. Rumble, a deafening clap of thunder rang out from the thick tribulation clouds. Then a silver bolt of lightning as thick as a water bucket tore through the clouds like a silver dragon. It carried the power to destroy everything as it bombarded the medicinal cauldron in front of Master Jimia. It wanted to break open the medicinal cauldron and destroy the Huangji quasi-saint pill that exceeded the limits of the Duhan continent. The pill tribulation attracted by the Huangji quasi-saint pellet was very powerful. However, as a nirvana expert, Great Master Jimia was also very powerful. He was multitasking. The fire Dao diagram and the yin-yang Dao diagram appeared on his body. They overlapped on the medicinal cauldron and forcefully weakened the power of the pill tribulation. When the silver, dragon-like pill lightning pierced through the two Dao diagrams and bombarded the medicinal cauldron, Great Master Jimia made his move again. He summoned a treasure to weaken the pill lightning. Large amounts of lightning snakes extended on the surface of the medicinal cauldron. They passed through the cracks on the lid and attacked the Huangji quasi-saint pellet that was about to be formed. The power of the pill lightning was forcefully weakened by Great Master Jimia. It wasn't enough to destroy the Huangji quasi-saint pellet. Using the remaining power of the pill lightning, the Huangji quasi-saint pellet started to transform. All of its medicinal properties and Dao intent were stimulated. Great. This Great Master Jimia was indeed the top alchemist in the central world. He was able to split his attention to resist the pill lightning while refining the Huangji quasi-saint pellet. Witnessing the scene before them with their own eyes, everyone present revealed shocked expressions. Even the two heavenly palaces' grand elders who were in seclusion within the fire god realm opened their eyes at this moment. Through the fire god realm, they looked at Great Master Nirvana, who was currently weakening the pill lightning and refining the pill. The pill lightning seemed to be enraged by Great Master Jimia's resistance. It roared furiously in the tribulation clouds. Streaks of lightning flashed and broke through the turbulent tribulation clouds. They bombarded Great Master Jimia, wanting to destroy him and the Huangji quasi-saint pellet. Great Master Jimia didn't panic in the face of danger. He deduced the two Dao diagrams to the extreme and merged with each other. They turned into a huge Dao intent millstone that continuously destroyed the pill lightning. He used the remaining power of the pill lightning to transform the Huangji quasi-saint pellet. Hall Master, do you think Great Master Jimia can resist the pill lightning and refine the Huangji quasi-saint pellet into a saint pellet? Great Elder Xian Zhong Ting stared at Great Master Jimia, who was constantly receiving the pill lightning's attacks. He asked Xian Hongzhang, who had a deep gaze that seemed to contain the sun and moon. Great Master Jimia's refining skills are on par with mine. Furthermore, he didn't panic when he was attacked by the pill lightning. It's obvious that he still has a lot of energy left. Furthermore, He has many heaven-defying treasures. If nothing goes wrong, he should be able to resist the pill lightning and refine the Huangji quasi-saint pellet in the end. Xian Hongzheng took a deep breath. When he was watching Great Master Jimir resist the pill lightning, he was still paying attention to Yi Qinfeng. He was afraid that Yi Qinfeng would be distracted and cause the refinement to fail. However, he saw that Yi Qinfeng was as calm as usual. It was as if the collapse of heaven and earth wouldn't affect him. He let out a sigh of relief. Time passed by. When Great Master Jimir relied on his powerful strength and foundation to resist the pill lightning's baptism for more than 2 hours, the terrifying pill lightning was about to end. At this moment, the thick tribulation cloud swirled. In the center of the tribulation clouds, a tornado-like silver pill lightning shot out from the center of the tribulation clouds. It twisted the void and swallowed Great Master Jimia along with the burning cauldron. Heavenly King Tu and Di Mingyue's hearts clenched at this moment. Success or failure depended on this. Whether Great Master Jimia could resist the pill lightning's final attack or not would determine whether he could refine the pill and win in the end. Just as everyone's gaze was attracted by the silver lightning whirlpool, the millstone that was fused with the Tao of Fire and the Tao of Yin and Yang appeared in everyone's sight. It continuously crushed the lightning whirlpool and neutralized its destructive power. The Huangji quasi-saint pellet in the cauldron also underwent a qualitative change under the refinement of the pill lightning's power. Pill formation, feeling that the 10 quasi-saint pellet patterns in the Huangji quasi-saint pellet had turned into a saint pellet pattern. The Tao diagram's power was unleashed to the extreme. Great Master Jimia, who was under immense pressure, formed multiple complicated hand seals and formed the pill in one go. He successfully refined Saint Pellet, grade Huangji Saint Pellet. The instant the pill was formed, the tribulation clouds that covered the void and the terrifying pill lightning immediately disappeared. The chaotic void returned to normal. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to facilitate your next reading, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading record. You can see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1184. Success. Master Great Destruction had passed the pill tribulation and refined the Huangji quasi-sage pellet. There was no doubt who would get first place in this alchemy competition. Heavenly King Tu and Di Mingyue smiled when they saw Grandmaster Great Destruction successfully concoct the Huangji quasi-sage pellet. Although Yi Qinfeng hadn't finished concocting the Huangji quasi-sage pellet, in their opinion, no matter how heaven-defying Yi Qinfeng was, it was impossible for him to concoct a Huangji quasi-sage pellet to defeat Grandmaster Great Destruction. The first place of the competition was already in the bag of the 9 heavens divine nation. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement, test. There was still half a day left. How many lines of Taishu quasi-sage pellet could Feng Qin refine? Xian Hongzheng and the others didn't think that Yi Qinfeng could create another miracle and defeat Master Great Destruction. With Yi Qinfeng's age, being able to refine Taishu quasi-sage pellet was enough to make history. Fail, he had to fail. The flame Spirit Saint Sun kept cursing in his heart. However, looking at Yi Qinfeng's calm appearance and smooth refinement technique, his heart grew colder and colder. He regretted going against Yi Qinfeng and making a bet with Yi Qinfeng. If it wasn't for that bet, he wouldn't have been pushed to the edge of the cliff. There wasn't much time left. That little fellow had to hurry up. Otherwise, when the time was up, he would still fail. Seeing that there wasn't much fire sand left in the funnel, Xian Hongzheng was still worried. He was afraid that Feng Chen wouldn't be able to refine the Taishu quasi-sage pellet in the limited time. Just as everyone's gaze was focused on Yi Qinfeng, the sky that had just cleared up was once again shrouded by a huge shadow. The rolling dark clouds were like a magnificent army with thousands of men and horses. surging over and gathering into a thick, dark cloud above the fire god shrine. An extremely oppressive energy was emitted from the dark cloud, causing the residents of the fire god city to feel as if they were unable to breathe. Why? Why did tribulation clouds appear again? Could it be that Feng Chen's Taishu quasi-sage pellet had exceeded the limit of the central world and attracted a pill tribulation? Looking at the tribulation cloud that suddenly appeared in the sky and hearing the low rumbling of thunder from the tribulation cloud, everyone present was stunned. A kind of shock and excitement appeared on their faces and eventually covered their entire faces. Heavens, what kind of monster was Feng Chen? How could he refine Taishu quasi-sage pellet to the level of a sage pellet? How did he do it? Devil Wave King, Heavenly King 2, and the others were all stunned. They couldn't believe what was happening. Even Xian Hongzhang, Great Master Nirvana, and the others, who had remained calm in the midst of chaos, were stunned by the sudden appearance of the pill lightning. Their eyes widened as they looked at the tribulation clouds. Xian Hongzhang felt that he had already overestimated Yi Qinfeng. However, every single time, Yi Qinfeng's performance far surpassed his expectations. He was completely convinced by Yi Qinfeng's talent. However, in the next moment, Xian Hongzhang's expression changed. He thought of how terrifying the pill tribulation was. With Yi Qinfeng's strength as a level 4 beast emperor, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. Once he was injured by the great void quasi-sage pill lightning, it was very likely that his efforts would be in vain and he would fail to refine the pill. Xian Hong was thinking about this, and so were many others. Tu Heavenly King and Di Mingyue were secretly delighted. Since they had become enemies with Yi Qinfeng, they didn't want to see Yi Qinfeng in the limelight. God is helping me. God is really helping me. The fire spirit Saint Sun saw the sudden appearance of the pill retribution and fell into ecstasy. Feng Qin, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Even Master Nirvana had a hard time resisting the pill retribution. You dare to attract the pill retribution? You really don't know how to write the word death. I hope this pill retribution doesn't kill you. Amidst the chaos, some are cursing, some are praying, some are looking forward to it, and some were gloating. Yi Qinfeng was surprisingly calm. His arrogant face didn't change at all. Yi Qinfeng could still clearly see the process of Great Master Nirvana resisting the pill tribulation. Although the pill tribulation was extremely powerful, Yi Qinfeng believed that with his powerful physical body, he would still have a chance to resist it. Moreover, Yi Qinfeng still had the chaos divine that had completed its transformation. A mere pill tribulation was no threat to him. Hall Master, Feng Chen's pill tribulation is about to descend. Should we increase the restriction of the fire god shrine to help him resist the pill tribulation? Great Elder Xian Zhongting asked worriedly. This Xian Hongzhang hesitated. Although he wanted to help Yi Qinfeng resist the pill tribulation, it would be breaking the rules of the competition. The heavenly palace would be humiliated and lose its reputation. Hall Master Xian, you're not thinking of cheating, are you? Heavenly King 2 looked at the hesitant Xian Hongzhang and purposely said, Restriction open. Xian Hongzhang looked at Yi Qinfeng deeply and found that not only was there no panic on his face, but there was also a trace of anticipation. He gritted his teeth and opened the fire god shrine and the spatial restriction. Rumble. The double restriction disappeared, and the thick tribulation clouds immediately resounded with the sound of thunder. Silver lightning snakes, as thick as buckets, suddenly appeared and swam in the thick tribulation clouds, releasing endless destructive power. Finally, as the clouds grew thicker and thicker, a loud rumble came from the clouds that covered the sky. A silver, dragon-like bolt of pill lightning descended from the sky, striking towards Yi Qinfeng and the quasi-sage Taishu pill in the vermilion bird cauldron. At this moment, the entire world trembled slightly, as if space was being torn apart. divine devil bloodline ignite. Facing the terrifying pill lightning, Yi Chen-feng didn't dare to be careless. Without hesitation, he ignited his bloodline and transformed into a steel-like divine devil body. He forcefully raised his physical defense to the level of a top-grade Dao artifact. In the next moment, the sword Dao diagram, the 5 elements Dao diagram, and the life and death Dao diagram appeared on his body, crisscrossing above his head to resist the silver, dragon-like pill lightning. What? 3 Dao diagrams? With his age and strength, not only did he cultivate to the highest level of alchemy in the Central World, but he also condensed 3 Dao diagrams. How did this brat cultivate? Was he the reincarnation of an almighty? How could he be so monstrous? Seeing Yi Chen-feng condense the 3 Dao diagrams to resist the pill lightning, everyone's hearts trembled again. Their eyes widened as if they had seen a ghost. Boom! Boom! When the silver, dragon-like pill lightning bombarded the 3 Dao diagrams, it wildly destroyed them. The terrifying destructive power forcibly penetrated the 3 Dao diagrams and bombarded Yi Chen-feng and the great void quasi-sage pill in the vermilion bird cauldron. Facing the direct attack of the pill lightning, the God-Eater brain quickly deduced and calculated the power of the pill lightning. Yi Chen-feng relied on his physical body, which was comparable to a top-grade Dao artifact, to withstand the remaining power of the pill lightning. He guided part of the pill lightning into the vermilion bird cauldron to refine the great void quasi-sage pill. Under the refinement of the pill lightning, the great void quasi-sage pill, which had fused with a large amount of life force, rapidly transformed and showed signs of evolving into a sage pill. Using his physical body to resist the pill lightning seeing, Yi Chen-feng used his physical body to resist the remaining power of the pill lightning without any damage. The spectators couldn't find any words to describe their feelings at this moment. It could be said that the strength and methods Yi Chen-feng displayed today were completely beyond their imagination. It made them feel like they were in a dream. It was unreal. Mobile reading site. Book address. To facilitate your next reading, you can click on the Save button below to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1185. The power of this pill thunder was immense. Yi Chen-feng deduced the 3 Dao diagrams and used his body to resist the pill thunder for half an incense stick's worth of time. His injuries began to worsen as he was constantly struck by the pill thunder. Large amounts of blood flowed out from his torn body, dyeing him red. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement test, however. With the chaos divine would guarding his body, the pill thunder only struck his skin and was unable to harm his core. More and more cracks appeared on his skin, but they did not affect Yi Chen-feng at all. It was as if he could not feel any pain as he continued to use his alchemy skills, using the pill thunder's remaining power to refine the Taishu quasi-sage pill. He stimulated the Taishu quasi-sage pill's greatest medicinal properties and allowed it to transform at the deepest level. At this time was running out and the atmosphere was becoming more and more tense. However, Yi Chen-feng did not panic at all. With the God-Eater brain's ingenious calculations, as long as nothing unexpected happened, he would be able to use the pill thunder's baptism to refine the Taishu quasi-sage pill to the level of a saint pill. Boom! 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 More and more pill thunder fell from the tribulation clouds, crazily destroying Yi Chen-feng's body. It drilled into the vermilion bird cauldron, attacking the Taishu quasi-sage pill that was constantly transforming. Seeing Yi Chen-feng being bombarded by the pill thunder without any damage to his body, the spectators were all numb. They felt that Yi Chen-feng was a monster that surpassed common sense. Just as the fiery sand was about to flow out, a large amount of silver lightning swept over, turning into a lightning vortex. It twisted the void and directly swallowed Yi Chen-feng. The 3 Tao diagrams were torn apart by the lightning vortex, their resistance greatly reduced. At the critical moment, the chaos divine would broke out of Yi Qinfeng's body and appeared above his head. Its lush canopy swayed as it swallowed an endless amount of chaotic energy, crazily devouring the power of the lightning vortex. At this time, Yi Qinfeng, who was covered in blood, guided the pill thunder that had been weakened by the chaos divine wood into the vermilion bird cauldron to speed up the transformation of the Taishu quasi-sage pill, the 5-colored tree shadow. Feng Qin had a big secret on him. Although no one could see the full appearance of the chaos divine wood in the lightning vortex, they could feel the power of the pill lightning plummet. Everyone guessed that the chaos divine wood was no small matter. It was very likely that it was an extremely powerful sacred treasure. This also made everyone believe that Yi Qinfeng had an unimaginably powerful master. Otherwise, he would not have so many secrets on him. Finally, after fusing with a large amount of life force and being baptized by the pill thunder, the great void quasi-saint elixir transformed into a saint elixir. On the surface of the saint elixir, a half-meandering saint elixir mark appeared. If it wasn't for the lack of time, Yi Qinfeng would have had the chance to refine the Taishu quasi-holy Dan into a 2-mark holy Dan. However, condensing the remaining half of the holy Dan would require at least half a day, causing Yi Qinfeng to have no choice but to give up. Pill formation Yi Qinfeng spat out a mouthful of sky-burning initial sacred flame mixed with his blood essence. He infused it into the vermilion bird cauldron and refined the great void quasi-sacred pill, which had surpassed the limits of the Duhan continent and reached the level of a sacred pill. The pill lightning disappeared. He had really succeeded. Looking at the pill lightning and dark clouds in the sky that suddenly disappeared, looking at the great void quasi-sacred pill that shot out of the vermilion bird cauldron and released endless pill light, the flame spirit saint's last hope was shattered. He was like a deflated balloon sitting on the ground. His eyes were blank and he was completely dumbfounded. Miracle. Feng Qin had created another miracle. Today's competition was destined to be recorded in the history books. Looking at the great void quasi-sacred pill floating above Yi Qinfeng's head with a half mark, Xian Hongzheng and the others showed a trace of excitement. At this moment, no one doubted Yi Qinfeng's alchemy skills anymore. They looked at him with reverence and passion in their eyes. Some people even spread the news immediately through their communication beads, causing a huge uproar in the outside world. Not long after Yi Qinfeng refined the great void quasi-sacred pill, the fiery sand in the funnel ran out. The finals, which had lasted for 10 days, had finally ended. 2 consecutive pill tribulations in the finals were extremely rare in the hundreds of thousands of years of history. In the long river of time, Yi Qinfeng was definitely the youngest alchemist to have attracted a pill tribulation. His performance was also the most shocking. In addition to his extraordinary alchemy skills, Yi Qinfeng had also just displayed a terrifying physical strength and comprehension of Tao intent. It was unimaginable that so many miracles would appear on one person. Sigh, we are really old. We can't even be compared to a junior. Looking at the great void quasi-sacred pill in Yi Qinfeng's hand that was emitting a strong medicinal fragrance and had a half mark, Master Dan Xian and Master Bai Luo looked at each other and saw the bitterness in each other's eyes. They were convinced by Yi Qinfeng's terrifying alchemy skills and were sincerely convinced of their loss. Master Nirvana, who was proud and arrogant and thought that the championship was already in his bag, also fell silent at this moment. Although the quality of the great void quasi-sage elixir was not as good as the Huangji quasi-sage elixir that Yi Qinfeng refined, the great void quasi-sage elixir pattern that Yi Qinfeng refined was half a path higher than the Huangji quasi-sage elixir pattern. What alchemy skills did Feng Qin have to be able to refine the great void quasi-sacred pill to such a high quality? Although pill tribulations could increase the quality of pills it could only increase the quality by 1 grade at most. The Great Void Quasi-Sacred Pill was not the highest grade of quasi-sacred pill. So even if it passed the pill tribulation, its quality would not surpass the Huangji Quasi-Sacred Pill. However, not only did Yi Qinfeng refine the Great Void Quasi-Sacred Pill to the Sacred Pill grade, but its quality also surpassed the Huangji Quasi-Sacred Pill. In addition, Yi Qinfeng's method of increasing the quality of his pills in the semifinals made him very interested in the alchemy inheritance that Yi Qinfeng had. He wanted to obtain it. If he could grasp it, then he would definitely become the top alchemist of the Central World and be respected by millions. Place the pills you refine on the lotus platforms and let us and the 3 lords evaluate them one by one. Vice Palace, Lord Xian Qingyan nodded at Yi Qinfeng, who had given him a great surprise. He took out 10 lotus platforms and floated them in the air. Seeing Yi Qinfeng refine the Great Void Quasi-Sacred Pill that had reached the Sacred Pill grade, the Fire Spirit Saint still felt like he was dreaming. His heart was filled with fear, and he did not dare to look at Yi Qinfeng. It could be said that Yi Qinfeng had become his nightmare, and he could not get rid of it. Feng Qin, if we have the chance, can we exchange alchemy skills? Great Master Jimia's turbid eyes shot out rays of light. He looked at the calm Yi Qinfeng and spoke with the tone of a superior. I'm sorry, Great Master Jimia. Without my master's permission, I cannot exchange alchemy skills with you. Yi Qinfeng shook his head and declined politely. Feng Qin, may I know who your master is? Great Master Jimia frowned slightly and asked unhappily. My master has ordered me not to mention his name, Yi Qinfeng said in a tone that was neither arrogant nor humble. Feng Qin, I is very interested in your alchemy skills and wants to exchange with you. If you are willing, you can state any conditions. Seeing Yi Qinfeng pretending to be mysterious and constantly declining, Great Master Jimia was slightly annoyed. He no longer hid his true intentions and went straight to the point. I'm sorry, but this is related to my master's inheritance. I cannot give it to you, Yi Qinfeng continued to refuse. After that, Yi Qinfeng no longer paid attention to Great Master Jimia, whose face gradually turned dark and had evil intentions. He closed his eyes and waited for the final result. There is nothing I can't get when I want it. Great Master Jimia's eyes flashed with a cold light. He looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was resting with his eyes closed. He kept thinking about the plan to steal Yi Qinfeng's alchemy inheritance. Soon, after Xian Hongzhang and the others patiently appraised, the final result was out. Yi Qinfeng and Great Master Jimia had both refined a divine pill and were tied for first place. Great Master Bai Luo was third, Great Master Danexan was fourth, and Great Master Shuiwei was fifth. The pale-faced fire spirit saint, who was unable to accept the truth, was 10th. He was at the bottom of the finals. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1186. Tied for first place? Palace Master Xian, isn't there a problem with this ranking? Ai's Huangji Quasi-Saint Pill is definitely better than his Taishu Quasi-Saint Pill. Isn't it too far-fetched to be tied for first place? Hearing the result, Great Master Nirvana showed a trace of displeasure and objected on the spot. The quality of the Huangji Quasi-Saint Pill is indeed better than the Taishu Quasi-Saint Pill. But your pill only has 1 pill pattern, while Feng Chen's Taishu Quasi-Saint Pill has 1.5 pill patterns. Among Saint Pills, this half-pill pattern has a huge difference in quality. Thus, our evaluation is that both of your Saint Pills are on par. Tying for first place is the best result. However, Great Master Nirvana, don't worry. The rewards won't be small. You and little friend Feng Qin can go to the treasure cliff and choose 3 treasures. Xian Hongzheng explained. Palace Master Xian, I want to ask you something. I hope you can answer truthfully. Does Feng Chen have any relationship with your heavenly hall? Are you biased towards him? Great Master Nirvana wasn't satisfied with Xian Hongzheng's explanation and asked with a cold expression. I do want little friend Feng Chen to have a relationship with my heavenly hall. But unfortunately, I've only just met him, and I'm not biased towards anyone, Xian Hongzheng calmly explained. Great Master Nirvana, as someone from the older generation, I feel that you should be more open-minded. Perhaps you feel that tying for first place with little friend Feng Chen is a disgrace to your status, but perhaps in the future, you will feel that this is a great honor for you. In order to get closer to Yi Qin Feng, Great Master Nirvana revealed an unfathomable smile and slowly spoke. You, Great Master Nirvana, didn't expect Great Master Nirvana to stand up for Yi Qin Feng, and his expression became extremely gloomy. There is always someone better than you. There is no eternal first place in alchemy. Great Master Nirvana, we're all old. This world will belong to the younger generation sooner or later. Don't be too calculative. Master Dan Xian of Octave Divine Nation glanced at the gloomy Master Nirvana. Although he was squeezed out of the top 3 by Yi Qin Feng, he didn't hate Yi Qin Feng. Instead, he wanted to rope Yi Qin Feng into his Octahead Divine Country. If Yi Qin Feng was willing to come to his Octahead Divine Country, he believed that in the alchemy world, Octahead Divine Country would definitely be able to suppress Nine Heavens Divine Country. That's right, little friend Feng Chen was able to refine a saint pill at such a young age. It's a miracle in and of itself. He deserves to be first place. Qian Sun King also supported Yi Qin Feng, causing Great Master Nirvana's face to turn ashen. Thank you for your affirmation. I'm still young, so there are many areas where I'm lacking. It's understandable that Master Nirvana feels that sharing first place with me is an insult to his status. Yi Qin Feng guessed that the Great Destruction Venerable targeted him because of his repeated rejections earlier. So he smiled faintly and said humbly, It's good that you know. Hearing Yi Qin Feng's intention to admit defeat, Great Master Nirvana's anger lessened a lot. He coldly snorted. Yi Qin Feng looked at the arrogant Master Nirvana and smiled. Master Nirvana, if you really don't want to share first place with me, that's fine too. Let's have another round. I'll refine the Huangji Quasi-Sage Pill, and Senior will refine the Taishu Quasi-Sage Pill. As long as Senior's Taishu Quasi-Sage Pill can reach my level, I'll automatically give up first place. You, Great Master Nirvana, didn't think that Yi Qin Feng's words were a trap. First, he wanted to make him happy, then he stabbed him. He was so angry that his face turned green. That's fine too. If Master Nirvana feels that this ranking is unreasonable, then we'll have another round. I believe no one has any objections. Xian Hongzheng glanced at Yi Qin Feng and smiled. If you want to compete, I can compete with you in refining. Great Master Nirvana had never suffered such humiliation before. He was slapped in the face by a junior in front of everyone. However, he didn't have the ability to refine the Taishu Quasi-Sage Pill to the Sacred Pill level. He didn't dare to accept the challenge. He gritted his teeth and glared at Yi Qin Feng. Sure, this junior is also preparing to participate in the next refining competition. If Senior wants to bet, this junior will accompany you. However, wouldn't a simple bet be too boring? Why don't we add some stakes? Yi Qin Feng agreed very straightforwardly. What do you want to bet? Seeing the calm Yi Qin Feng, Great Master Nirvana frowned and asked in a low voice. Let's bet on the rewards of our alchemy competition. If this junior is lucky enough to win, the rewards of Senior's alchemy competition will belong to this junior. If this junior loses, then this junior's rewards will belong to Senior, Yi Qin Feng suggested. Hearing that Yi Qin Feng actually had the guts to bet on the rewards of the alchemy competition's first place, Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air and revealed a surprised expression. Yi Qinfeng dared to make such a big bet, which proved that he was full of confidence in the refining competition. It also showed Xian Hongzhang and the others how terrifying he was. Unparalleled alchemy skills, terrifying physical body, and profound Tao intent. If he also grasped the terrifying refining skills, then such an all-round Yi Qinfeng was worthy of the divine nation's divine emperor to come out and rope him in. His future achievements were even more immeasurable. What's wrong, senior? You are highly respected and your refining skills are unparalleled. You can't be afraid of this, junior, right? Yi Qinfeng looked at Great Master Nirvana, whose face was gloomy like water and was trying hard to suppress the anger in his heart. He smiled and said, "Forget it, this junior is also a person who is easy to talk to. If senior is afraid of losing to this junior and losing face, then let's not bet." A sense of humiliation and anger that he had never experienced before filled Great Master Nirvana's heart, giving him the urge to strangle Yi Qinfeng to death. Other than anger, Great Master Nirvana also had a trace of regret in his heart. He regretted that he shouldn't have provoked Yi Qinfeng, who was full of thorns, and pushed himself to the edge of the waves. All right, I agree to bet on the rewards of the alchemy competition's first place. In front of so many old rivals, Great Master Nirvana knew that he couldn't back down. If he backed down, the people of the Octave Divine Nation and the Kirin Kingdom would definitely make a big fuss about this matter. At that time, he would definitely lose all face and become a laughingstock. Seniors, please be a witness for me and Great Master Nirvana. Seeing that Great Master Nirvana agreed, Yi Qinfeng's smile became even more brilliant as he spoke softly. Don't worry, Great Master Nirvana is highly respected and won't go back on his word. Great Elder Xian Zhongting, who favored Yi Qinfeng a lot, said with a smile. Humph. Great Master Nirvana didn't think that things would develop to this point. He angrily glared at Xian Hongzhang and the others, who were completely leaning towards Yi Qinfeng, and angrily left. Fire Spirit, where are you going? Just as the Fire Spirit Saint Child was about to leave with the people of the Nine Heavens Divine Nation, Yi Qinfeng suddenly stopped him and said, "Isn't it time to settle the bet between us?" The Fire Spirit Saint Child braced himself and said, "The heavenly fire, triple-layered transformations, cultivation, chant is not on me." That's not urgent. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, "I want you to kneel down and kowtow to me to apologize." The Fire Spirit Saint Child's face turned red as he tightly clenched his fists and angrily glared at Yi Qinfeng. "Feng Qin, do you really want to fight to the death with my sacred Fire Valley?" Yi Qinfeng ignored the Fire Spirit Saint Child's threat and slowly said, "Okay, no more nonsense. Don't tell me you want to go back on your words. If you agree to a bet, you have to accept your loss. Fire Spirit, stop being so wishy-washy and quickly kneel down and kowtow." A trace of coldness appeared in the Flood Demon King's eyes as he ordered without any room for resistance. Feeling everyone's gazes, the Fire Spirit Saint Child knew that he had no choice. He clenched his teeth and stubbornly kneeled on the ground in humiliation and kowtowed 3 times to Yi Qinfeng. "That's more like it. Let's go. Take me to your father and get the heavenly fire triple-layered transformation. Our grudge ends here. However, if you are not convinced and want to take revenge, I welcome you at any time." Yi Qinfeng said with a smile as he looked at the Flame Spirit Saint Sun, who was kneeling on the ground like a dog. Yi Qinfeng completely won the bet with the Fire Spirit Saint Child. His next target, Yi Qinfeng set his sights on the arrogant and evil Great Master Nirvana. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1187. This is the cultivation formula of the heavenly fire, triple layer change. Watching Yi Qinfeng win first place in the alchemy competition through the light wall, Fire Sky Halberd could not calm down for a long time. He did not expect that the holy son of Fire Spirit would provoke a monster that the sacred Fire Valley could not afford to provoke. When Yi Qinfeng found him, he could only obediently give the cultivation formula of the heavenly fire triple layer change, the number one divine sense of the sacred Fire Valley, to Yi Qinfeng. I hope you learn from your mistakes, and don't provoke me again. Otherwise, I will destroy your inheritance. Watching Fire Sky Halberd and his son leave in embarrassment, Yi Qinfeng narrowed his eyes and murmured in his heart, "Feng Chen, where did you come from? How can you be so powerful that you can even refine a divine elixir?" The Tao addict and the others gathered around and looked at him as if he was a monster, as if they wanted to see through him. This junior only managed to refine the sage-grade medicinal pill after performing excessively and adding a bit of luck. Yi Qinfeng said modestly as he looked at the shocked faces around him, "Don't be modest. You won first place in the highest level alchemy competition in the Central World, not just by luck." The Tao addict said with a smile, "In the future, when the four of us ask you to refine elixirs, you can't refuse or blackmail us. Otherwise, I will ask my disciple to settle accounts with you." Yi Qinfeng glanced at Jiao Yuyan, who was blushing and looking radiant, and promised softly, "Rest assured, seniors, if you need it, I will refine elixirs for you for free." "Haha, I was waiting for you to say that." The Tao addict laughed and said with satisfaction. As for the absolute sword trio, they all smiled. The way they looked at Yi Qinfeng had changed, although their realms had reached the limit of the Central World. If they had the support of a powerful divine elixir, their strength could still improve a lot and their lifespan could also increase. Therefore, Yi Qinfeng, who had the strength to refine a divine elixir, was extremely important to them. "Let's go, seniors. Let's go back. I want to cultivate for a few days and prepare for the alchemy competition in 3 days." Yi Qinfeng said softly, "What? You still want to participate in the artifact refining competition?" The Tao addict and the others widened their eyes in astonishment and asked in astonishment. They were unable to imagine that at Yi Qinfeng's age, not only was his strength formidable, his Tao insights profound, and his refinement technique unparalleled. He even grasped formidable equipment refinement techniques. Even if he was cultivating in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to be so abnormal. "Yes, I also made a bet with Master Nirvana on the final result of our weapon refining competition. The prize is the reward of our alchemy competition." Yi Qinfeng nodded and said, "What?" Hearing Yi Qinfeng's understatement, the Tao addict and others were all dumbfounded and petrified on the spot. "This, Feng Chen, are you sure you can defeat Nirvana? Not only is his attainment in alchemy unparalleled, but his craftsmanship is even more frightening. In the entire Central World, the number of people who can defeat him in craftsmanship can be counted on one hand." The Tao addict gasped. "I don't have absolute confidence in defeating him. If he wants to defeat me in refining weapons, it won't be that easy." Yi Qinfeng's calm voice revealed incomparable confidence. "Monster, this kid is a monster." The Tao addict and the others looked at each other, and the same thought emerged in their minds. After returning to the Tao addict's ancient courtyard, Yi Qinfeng rejected the proposal to celebrate. He returned to his room and set up a soundproof restriction. After a simple rest, he took out a large amount of refining materials from the Qinkuan world. As he refined weapons, he tried to merge the purple beginning sacred thunder and the sky-burning sacred fire into the equipment refining embryo. Before coming to the fire god city, Yi Qinfeng was already able to seal the purple beginning sacred thunder and the sky-burning sacred fire into the equipment refining embryo, and the success rate was more than 90%. However, if he wanted to defeat Master Nirvana, A one-time attack was probably not enough. Yi Qinfeng was prepared to try to seal the two sacred objects 2, or even 3 times. Although his idea was quite bold and difficult, it was feasible after the evolution of the Chaos Divine Wood. According to his idea, Yi Qinfeng used the power of the Chaos Divine Wood to do experiments again and again. He forcefully sealed the first sacred fire and the first sacred thunder into the equipment refining embryo twice. However, during the experiment, Yi Qinfeng still encountered a lot of trouble. After repeated experiments and failures, his confidence was greatly damaged. What exactly went wrong? Yi Qinfeng realized that the first seal would succeed, but the second seal would always lose control of the initial sacred fire and initial sacred thunder, tearing apart the seal and exploding the refining embryo. This made him ponder over the problem continuously. Could it be that the power contained in the first sacred fire and the first sacred thunder is too strong, and the low-grade Tao artifact I refined is not strong enough to seal the first sacred fire and the first sacred thunder twice, which led to the failure in the end? After thinking for a while, Yi Qinfeng thought of where the problem might be. However, 3 days was too short, and the time needed to refine a high-grade Tao artifact was very long, so he had no time to confirm his guess. Just when Yi Qinfeng was in distress, there was a knock on the door, and Jiao Yian's gentle voice sounded outside the room. "Feng Qin, Palace Master Xian is here and wants to see you." Palace Master Xian. Hearing Jiao Yian's voice, Yi Qinfeng immediately stopped the experiment, opened the door, and followed her to the main hall, where he saw Xian Hongzheng, who was chatting with the Tao addict and others. "Feng Qin, I didn't disturb your cultivation, did I?" Seeing the golden couple Yi Qinfeng and Jiao Yan appear in the main hall, Xian Hongzheng put down the teacup in his hand, showed a faint smile, and asked softly. "No." Yi Qinfeng shook his head and said, "Palace Master Xian, I wonder why you came to see me so late at night." "Qingfeng, can we talk in private?" Xian Hongzheng asked. "Of course," Yi Qinfeng said very straightforwardly. "If you don't mind, Palace Master Xian can come to my room." "Feng Qin, I came to see you today because I have a very important matter to ask for your help." After arriving at Yi Qinfeng's room, Xian Hongzheng said directly, "Palace Master Xian, please speak." Yi Qinfeng personally poured a cup of fragrant tea for Xian Hongzheng and said, "I want to ask you to help us refine a pill after the competition." Xian Hongzheng took a sip of tea and said, "Palace Master Xian, what grade of pill are you going to refine?" Yi Qinfeng slightly raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Heavenly Palace represented the highest level of refining in the Central World, and it was also the holy land in the hearts of alchemists and refiners. A pill that, even they were not confident in refining, was extraordinary. 10 pattern, low-grade Saint Pill, Xian Hongzheng said. 10 pattern. Yi Qinfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. 1 pattern, low-grade Saint Pill had already exceeded the limit of the Duhan continent, and if a 10 pattern, low-grade Saint Pill was refined in the Duhan continent, it would definitely be punished by the heavens. I know this request is a little difficult, but the 10 pattern low-grade Saint Pill that we are refining is extremely important to my heavenly palace, Xian Hongzheng said. Palace Master Xian, there are so many Saint Masters in the Central World. Why did you come to me? Yi Qinfeng did not immediately agree and asked softly, whether it is Master Nirvana, Master Dan Xian, or Master by Luo, they all have the blood of foreign races flowing in their bodies. You are the same as us, with the blood of the human race flowing in your body. In addition, you have displayed superior refining skills today, so we feel that you are a good candidate and trustworthy. However, you don't need to feel too burdened. Regardless of success or failure, we will still be grateful to you and offer you a generous gift. Xian Hongzheng explained. All right, I am willing to help. After knowing that Heavenly Palace was the inheritance of the human race, Yi Qinfeng did not think too much and agreed. Thank you. Feng Qin, I don't know what you want, but as long as my heavenly palace can take it out, we will definitely give it to you," Xian Hongzheng said with a trace of gratitude. "Then I will not stand on ceremony." Yi Qinfeng thought for a moment and said, "I want 3 high-grade Tao artifact embryos, 3 supreme-grade Earth artifact embryos, 1 quasi-sacred artifact embryo, the Royal Saint Pill refined by Master Nirvana, and 81 supreme-grade Tao swords." "All right, tomorrow morning, I will order someone to send these items to you." Although the items that Yi Qinfeng wanted were priceless, and even the Saint Lands could not take them out, Xian Hongzheng still agreed happily. "By the way, Feng Qin, due to your outstanding performance in the weapon refining competition, you do not need to participate in the preliminary and semifinals. You can directly participate in the finals." Before leaving, Xian Hongzheng gave Yi Qinfeng a heaven token. With this heaven token, Yi Qinfeng could directly participate in the finals. "Thank you, Palace Master Xian." Yi Qinfeng was overjoyed. What he lacked now was time. With this heaven token, he could have more than 10 days to do experiments. "All right, Feng Qin, have a good rest. I am leaving." After saying that, Yi Qinfeng respectfully sent him off. Xian Hongzheng left the ancient courtyard and returned to Heavenly Palace. Mobile reading site, book address. For the convenience of your next reading, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. The next time you open the bookshelf, you will see it. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1188. Early in the morning, a ray of light pierced through the mist and shone on Fire God City, awakening this ancient city with a long history. Early in the morning, Sky Hall's experts brought Yi Qinfeng's Tao tool embryos, Royal Holy Pill, and 81 top-grade Tao swords. The reason why Yi Qinfeng wanted the Royal Holy Pill was because he wanted to use this top-grade body-tempering Saint Pill to cultivate the 3rd stage of the 9 transformations, the astral body. Yi Qinfeng wanted the 81 top-grade Tao swords to form the Cosmos Sword Array. With his current soul realm, he could control the 81 swords to attack at the same time. And when he upgraded the 81 swords to top-grade Tao swords, it greatly increased the power of the Cosmos Sword Array. The strongest attack definitely surpassed a low-grade Saint artifact, becoming one of Yi Qinfeng's greatest trump cards. After getting what he needed, Yi Qinfeng immediately went into seclusion. He took out the top-grade Tao tool embryo and threw it into the vermilion bird cauldron. As he burned and refined it, he borrowed the power of the Chaos Divine wood to seal the purple beginnings, sacred lightning, and sky-burning, sacred flame into the Tao tool embryo. Just as Yi Qinfeng was hiding in his room and experimenting, the entire Central World was in an uproar because of Yi Qinfeng's stunning performance in the alchemy competition. His name resounded throughout the Central World. Octahead Divine Nations Mansion in Fire God City. Hanyan, what's your relationship with Feng Qin? Monarch, who was wearing a black robe and exuding a faint, demonic aura, called Shui Hanyan to his room and asked in a low voice, "Uncle Wang wants me to rope Feng Qin into my Octahead Divine Nations camp." Shui Hanyan, who was wearing a long black silk dress that vividly accentuated her impressive figure, exuded an enchanting charm from head to toe. She lightly played with a strand of long hair that hung before her chest as she spoke softly. "That's right. This Feng Qin is the most terrifying young man I've ever seen. More importantly, his alchemy skills are unparalleled. He's an endless treasure trove. If we can recruit him, he'll definitely strengthen our kingdom. He'll be one of the pillars of our kingdom in the future." Monstrous Monarch nodded. "Uncle Wang, I think there are many people who have the same thoughts as you," Shui Hanyan said in a flat voice, making it impossible for others to guess her true thoughts. Yes, as soon as the results were announced, Feng Qin immediately became the most popular person in the world. Even the 9 Heavens Divine Kingdom and the Kirin Kingdom are thinking of ways to win him over. Mo Tao King nodded and said, Han Yan, are you willing to help? Help? Using a honey trap? The corners of Shui Hanyan's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a thought-provoking smile as she said with neither joy nor sorrow, Han Yan, I know your standards are high, but this Feng Qin is a good match for you in terms of both appearance and talent. You should consider it carefully. If you miss out on him, you will most likely be betrothed to the Thousand Tribulation Sex, Li Tian-yi, Demon Wave King advised. Li Tian-yi, that guy is a bit annoying. Shui Hanyan's eyes flashed with a sharp light. All right, since Uncle Wang said so, I'll give it a try. However, there are many beauties around that Feng Qin. You have to find a way to create an opportunity for me. Don't worry. The Heavenly Temple will hold a grand banquet after the competition. At that time, I'll create an opportunity for you too. Demon Wave King was overjoyed after seeing Shui Hanyan agree. Yi Qinfeng, how do you think I should entice you to leave with me? Shui Hanyan revealed a charming smile. Her beautiful demeanor made Monarch Mo Liuwang's heart tremble. Demon Wave King racked his brains to win over Yi Qinfeng. The Nine Heavens Divine Kingdom, the Kirin Kingdom, and even the reclusive Vast Heaven Palace were all doing their best to win over Yi Qinfeng. Among them, the Kirin Kingdom even came to visit, but the Tao addict used the reason of Yi Qinfeng's seclusion to drive them away. Very quickly, 3 days passed and the armament refining competition began. At this time, Yi Qinfeng was hiding in his room, constantly experimenting. Finally, after repeated efforts, he added 2 layers of seals to the supreme-grade Tao tool, sealing the Purple Beginnings Lightning and the Sky Scorch Flame twice. My earlier guess was right. The Purple Beginnings Lightning and the Sky Scorch Flame are too powerful. Ordinary Tao tools can't withstand their power, so they burst. After successfully sealing the 2 layers of Purple Beginnings Holy Lightning and Sky Burning Holy Flame in the embryo of the supreme-grade Tao artifact, Yi Qinfeng heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a faint smile. I wonder if a quasi-sage tool can withstand the power of 3 layers of Purple Beginnings Lightning and the Sky Scorch Flame? If he wanted to defeat Great Master Nirvana in the blacksmith competition, Yi Qinfeng knew that an ancient Tao weapon would not be enough. He had to refine a quasi-sacred weapon to have a chance. If he could add 3 layers of seals to the quasi-sage tool, his chances of victory would be even greater. I hope I can succeed. Yi Qinfeng rested for a while and threw the quasi-sage tool embryo into the vermilion bird cauldron. After 3 days of experimentation, he successfully used the power of the Chaos Divine Wood to add 3 layers of seals to the quasi-sage tool embryo. Purple Beginnings Lightning, Sky Scorch Flame, fuse! With a thought, Yi Qinfeng forcibly fused the 2 sacred spirits into the 3 layers of seals. Although there was still a slight deviation during the fusion, it almost led to failure. However, the transformed Chaos Divine Wood was extremely heaven-defying. Under its effect, Yi Qinfeng finally succeeded in fusing the 2 sacred spirits into the 3 layers of seals. The successful sealing of 3 layers meant that after the quasi-sage tool was refined, it could use the power of the Sky Scorch Flame and Sky Scorch Lightning 3 times in a row. In a fierce battle, these 3 sacred spirits' attacks were enough to turn the tide. I wonder how many days are left until the final round of the refining competition. After the successful experiment, Yi Qinfeng was in a good mood. He stretched his body and soaked in the bathtub for a while to relieve his tiredness. He summoned the 9 flood dragon diagram and began to study the Saint Tool runes in the diagram, making the final preparations for the refining competition. After another 3 days, Jiao Yian's gentle voice sounded from outside the room. Feng Qin, the Sky Hall's messenger, wants me to inform you that tomorrow is the refining competition. He wants you to prepare well and participate on time. It's finally time for the finals. Yi Qinfeng opened his tightly closed eyes and woke up from his meditation. His eyes that were as deep as the ocean were filled with anticipation. Feng Qin, do you want me to help you recover your soul energy tonight? Jiao Yuyan, who was wearing a white floral dress, was as beautiful as a fairy. There was a faint blush on her delicate face as she looked at Yi Qinfeng with a gentle gaze. She was like a little demoness who was tempting him to commit a crime. Okay, Yi Qinfeng's heart skipped a beat as he looked at the beautiful Jiao Yuyan, who had an otherworldly temperament and did not lose her charm. He held her soft and smooth hand and sat on the large, soft bed. Then he unreservedly let his soul merge with hers, becoming inseparable. In this intoxicating and ethereal state, he started to cultivate the immortal soul art. Very quickly the night passed. After a wonderful night of cultivation, Yi Qinfeng's soul energy had reached its peak state. Under the care of Jiao Yuyan, he changed into a new set of clothes and left the ancient courtyard in high spirits. He went to the fire god shrine. The final round of the refining competition had begun. Book Group 836-22554. Welcome everyone to join. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1189. Feng Qin, do your best. Get first place for us to see. Dao Attic smiled as she looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was in an excellent state of mind and had created miracles time and time again. I will do my best. Yi Qinfeng nodded. With a confident smile, he said, Seniors, Yan, I will be going in now. With that, Yi Qinfeng held the heaven's order and passed through the restrictions of the fire god shrine. He entered the majestic fire god shrine that looked like a palace. At this moment, the arrogant Master Nirvana, Master Dan Xian, Master Bai Luo, and the rest all arrived. Other than the few top sacred masters in the central world, Yi Qinfeng saw many unfamiliar figures in the fire god shrine. They didn't participate in the alchemy competition and were only here for the alchemy competition. Feng Qin, how are your preparations? Seeing Yi Qinfeng, who was wearing a white alchemy robe, appear in the fire god shrine, Grand Elder Xian Zhongting, who had been waiting for a long time, smiled faintly and took the initiative to welcome him. Junior is ready. I won't disappoint you all. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, confidently. Hearing Yi Qinfeng's words, Master Nirvana's eyes twitched. Very quickly, he suppressed the anger in his heart and ignored Yi Qinfeng. He remained silent and waited for the finals to begin. That's good. Xian Zhongting nodded and said, wait here for a moment. The finals will begin soon. As time passed, the 20 tool refiners who had entered the finals had all arrived. Due to Yi Qinfeng's outstanding performance in the alchemy competition, he had become the absolute focus of attention. Quite a few tool refiners were secretly sizing him up, very much wanting to see through him. Everyone, please enter the heavenly fire world. At this moment, a deep voice resounded in the fire god shrine. It didn't disperse for a long time. In the next moment, a huge gap appeared in the sky above the fire god shrine. The entrance to the heavenly fire world had opened. Everyone flew into the void and entered the extremely hot heavenly fire realm. They saw Xian Hongzhang and the others standing on a fiery red stone platform. Other than the Sky Hall's few big shots, the 3 great divine kings, the experts of the vast heaven palace, Yenryu, and the others had also appeared in the heavenly fire world. They wanted to watch the finals of the blacksmith competition up close. Feng Qin, I didn't expect you to be a dual cultivator in both alchemy and smithing. You're truly amazing. Good luck. We'll be waiting for you to create another miracle. Yenryu, who was wearing a dark blue silk dress, had an exquisite figure that was faintly discernible. Her face was like a begonia orchid, and her eyes were like the bright moon and the stars. She stood in silence and gave off an extremely charming feeling. She revealed a faint smile and spoke in a pleasant voice. At this moment, Yenryu no longer viewed Yi Qinfeng as a junior, but as an equal. In the entire Central World, the number of pill saints who could refine sacred pills could be counted on one hand. Given her strength, she also needed Yi Qinfeng's help. Yes, Senior. Seeing Yan Ryu standing beside Xian Hongzheng, Yi Qinfeng immediately guessed who the person who had asked Yan Ryu to help him out was when he had been bullied outside the Sky neighborhood. All right, everyone, quiet down. Today is the final round of the blacksmith competition. It is also the finale. The rules of the competition are the same as the previous years. Whoever refines the weapon with the highest grade, the best quality, and the greatest power will be the final winner. Everyone's materials will be provided by the Sky Hall. In this finals, the top 3 will receive the same rewards as the alchemy competition. The weapons they refine will also belong to them. The blacksmith competition will last for a month. Everyone, please write down the materials you need on a piece of paper. Xian Hongzheng, who was standing in the center of the fiery red stone platform, looked around at the 20 blacksmiths who were ready and introduced them in a deep voice. Before he came, Yi Qinfeng had already written down the materials he needed on a piece of paper. He was going to refine a sword from the inherited memory of the God-Eater brain. It was a sword that had reached the limit of a quasi-saint treasure. The reason why he had chosen to refine a sword was because he was more familiar with the structure of a sword. It would be easier for him to refine it. A quasi-saint weapon sword was what he was currently lacking. Although the materials needed by the 20 alchemists were rare and precious, the Sky Hall, which had a heritage of over 1 million years, was still able to gather the materials needed by everyone in a short period of time. All right, everyone, please enter the blacksmith space and prepare to refine. After distributing the materials, everyone entered the individual blacksmith spaces in the Sky Fire world. What a terrifying foundation! The 31 refining materials I need are all of the highest quality. Looking at the materials provided by the Sky Hall, Yi Qinfeng was slightly surprised. If it were him, he might not be able to gather such precious materials, even if he gave it his all. It was enough to show how terrifying the Sky Hall, which had stood in the Central World for over 1 million years, was. All right, the blacksmith competition will last for a month. Begin. With Xian Hongzheng's order, the blacksmith competition began. Vermilion Bird Cauldron. With a thought, Yi Qinfeng summoned the Vermilion Bird Cauldron. He breathed the sky-burning initial sacred fire into the Vermilion Bird Cauldron and began to refine the precious materials. Although the Vermilion Bird Cauldron had an artifact spirit and had reached the level of a Gudao treasure, the sword Yi Qinfeng wanted to refine was a quasi-saint weapon. It surpassed the Vermilion Bird Cauldron's level. It was strenuous for the Vermilion Bird Cauldron to refine the supreme grade materials, which greatly affected Yi Qinfeng's refining speed. If it weren't for the sky-burning initial sacred fire being strong enough, Yi Qinfeng wouldn't have been able to refine the materials in 30 days. Time passed day after day. Due to the high quality of the materials used to refine the quasi-sage tools, it was very difficult to melt and purify them. Yi Qinfeng tirelessly spent close to 20 days before he managed to melt and purify the 31 materials. At this time, besides Yi Qinfeng, the other blacksmiths had already finished refining the materials. They used their profound refining techniques to refine the refined essences into weapon embryos. It took nearly 20 days to complete the refining. Feng Chen's speed is a bit slow. Xian Hongzheng and the others who had been paying attention to Yi Qinfeng's refining speed saw that Yi Qinfeng's refining speed was far behind the other blacksmiths, and they began to worry for him. If Yi Qinfeng couldn't complete the refining in the allotted time, then no matter how amazing his performance was, it would be useless. And if Yi Qinfeng failed, then the alchemy competition's rewards would go to Grandmaster Nirvana. And because of this matter, his reputation would be damaged, and it would cause a bad impact. Huff! Huff! This quasi-saint weapon is indeed very difficult to refine. After refining all the refining materials, Yi Qinfeng immediately swallowed the several drops of soul recovery wine in his mouth. He began to use a mysterious refining technique condensing the 31 refining materials together. When he was condensing them, he borrowed the power of the chaos divine would to add a seal to the refining embryo that was slowly taking shape. When Yi Qinfeng used his refining techniques to the extreme, 6 arms appeared from his body and used the refining technique with his 2 arms to speed up the refining embryos in the vermilion bird cauldron. 8 arms. Could it be that Feng Qin is using the long-lost 8 arms sacred refining technique? Seeing Yi Qinfeng's 8 arms move and use the refining technique, Xian Hongzhang and the other Sky Hall's big shots narrowed their eyes and revealed looks of disbelief. In the ancient books passed down from the Sky Hall, there was an introduction to this refining technique. The 8 arms sacred refining technique was one of the top refining techniques in the Central World a million years ago. However, because it was too long ago, and for various reasons, it had long been lost. Now that it had reappeared, it had completely stunned Xian Hongzhang and the other Sky Hall's big shots. Amazing! I was wondering why this little guy dared to bet with Grandmaster Nirvana. It turns out that he has mastered this ancient saint artifact technique. It seems that he might really be able to create another miracle and defeat Grandmaster Nirvana. After seeing Yi Qinfeng use the 8 arms sacred refining technique, Xian Hongzhang felt relieved and looked forward to Yi Qinfeng's even more exciting performance. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You can see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1190. Phew, the first seal is complete. After more than a day of refining, Yi Qinfeng was finally able to add a seal to the slowly taking shape of the sword-shaped embryo, fusing the purple origin sacred thunder and heaven-burning origin sacred flame into it. When the sword-shaped embryo stabilized, Yi Qinfeng continued to use the 8-armed sacred refining technique to refine pills, while finding an opportunity to add a second seal to the embryo. After another 2 days, the second seal was formed, and the process was surprisingly smooth, allowing Yi Qinfeng to let out a long sigh of relief. Third seal, condense. After successfully forming the second seal in the embryonic sword-shaped sword, Yi Qinfeng did not stop at all. He formed the third seal in one go. Although Yi Qinfeng had the help of the primal chaos divine wood, he was still very careful while condensing the third seal. He was afraid that the slightest mistake would cause all his efforts to be in vain. Time quickly passed as Yi Qinfeng patiently condensed the third seal. Soon, 25 days had passed. At this time, many refiners had finished their competitions and refined one powerful Tao treasure after another. There were even ancient Tao treasures. Strange, what is Feng Qin doing? Why is he suddenly slowing down? At this rate, the remaining 5 days won't be enough. Xian Hongzhang, who had been paying attention to Yi Qinfeng's refinement, found that Yi Qinfeng's refinement speed had been decreasing over the past few days. He was puzzled and began to worry for him again. This Feng Qin's cauldron is at a disadvantage. If he had a quasi-saint treasure cauldron, his refining speed would have increased by a lot. Yan Ruyu frowned as she slowly said with a different kind of beauty, "That's right. Although Feng Qin has subdued a kind of first saint flame, his cultivation cauldron is too weak, and he can't bring out the full power of the first saint flame." The demon Wave King nodded. Xian Hongzhang and the others were secretly worried because Yi Qinfeng's refinement speed was slowing down. They knew that they couldn't rope in Yi Qinfeng, but they didn't want Master Nirvana to lose the competition. Instead, they revealed gloating smiles. From their point of view, Yi Qinfeng dared to bet with Great Master Nirvana. It was no different from courting death. From the very beginning, they didn't believe that Yi Qinfeng could defeat Great Master Nirvana, who was one of the top blacksmiths in the Central World at his age. Seal. When it was almost the 26th day, Yi Qinfeng finally formed the third seal on the sword-shaped embryo. He sealed the purple beginnings, holy lightning, and the sky burning, holy fire within the sword-shaped embryo. Phew, there are still 4 days. I have to hurry. Although there wasn't much time left, Yi Qinfeng didn't panic. He swallowed a few more drops of soul, returning liquid to recover his soul power. At the same time, he spat a large amount of heaven-burning origin, sacred flame, into the vermilion bird cauldron to increase the power of the flames inside. In the next moment, he controlled the heaven-burning origin, sacred flame, and death flame to fuse into the chaos divine wood. He multitasked and controlled the chaos divine would to fuse the two flames. Although the death flame wasn't as powerful as the heaven-burning origin sacred flame, the death flame had also reached the limit of a heaven flame. Once the two flames fused, it would definitely allow the heaven-burning origin sacred flame to undergo a qualitative leap and transform into a true sacred flame. It would completely solve the flaw of the vermilion bird cauldron and complete the refinement in the limited time. As the heaven-burning origin sacred flame and death flame slowly fused in the chaos divine wood, Yi Qinfeng used the 8 arms sacred refining technique again. The 4 arms condensed quasi-sacred runes and fused with the sword-shaped embryo to increase its quality. The 4 arms condensed pure offensive runes and fused with the sword-shaped embryo to increase its offensive power. Seeing Yi Qinfeng suddenly increase his refining speed, Xian Hongzhang and the others were puzzled. He's speeding up. That Feng Chen is finally speeding up. What was he doing a few days ago? Why did he speed up towards the end? Could it be that he likes the feeling of his heart beating faster? Palace Master Xian, can you tell what grade of weapon Feng Chen is refining? Yan Ryu sipped a mouthful of spirit tea and looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was completely focused on refining. She softly asked Xian Hongzhang. From the runes he condensed, Feng Chen should be refining a quasi-sacred artifact. From the 8-armed sacred refining art Yi Qinfeng executed and the quasi-sage inscriptions that he condensed, Xian Hong guessed Yi Qinfeng's refining grade. Quasi-sacred artifact. Yan Ruyu's beautiful eyebrows slightly raised as she said, Palace Master Xian, do you think he can finish refining in the remaining 4 days? Xian Hongzhang hesitated for a moment before saying, This quasi-sacred artifact is extremely difficult to refine. Normally there wouldn't be enough time, but this little guy can't be judged by common sense. I feel that he should be able to complete the refinement. Because Yi Qinfeng's furnace grade was too low, it greatly affected his refining speed. Moreover, after pondering for a long time, he still couldn't think of any method that Yi Qinfeng could use to turn the tide. He was filled with worry. Wang. Just as Xian Hongzhang and the others were worried about Yi Qinfeng, a boundless red light lit up in an independent space. Quasi-sacred artifact. Someone has refined a quasi-sacred artifact. Seeing the sudden appearance of the red light, everyone's eyes were attracted to it. A set of battle robes that emitted red light flew out from a burning cauldron. It floated above the slightly pale but spirited Master Pilheart, who had a look of joy on his face. It's Master Pilheart. He has refined a quasi-sacred artifact battle armor. The difficulty of refining a quasi-sacred artifact battle armor was far greater than that of an offensive quasi-sacred artifact. Furthermore, Master Pilheart was the first to refine a quasi-sacred artifact. With this battle armor, he had a high chance of entering the top 3. After another half a day, Master Nirvana, who had made a bet with Yi Qinfeng, completed the refinement. The instant he completed the refinement, a large amount of blue light shot out from the furnace. 2 identical quasi-sacred artifact Wugo swords that were engraved with a large number of runes and contained over 10,000 offensive runes appeared in the furnace. Heavens, Master Nirvana actually refined 2 quasi-sacred artifacts. Master Pilheart's quasi-sacred artifact battle armor is instantly inferior to his. Amazing, Master Nirvana is indeed the strongest sacred master in the Central World. There's no doubt he'll be first. When the two quasi-saint weapons made by Grandmaster Nirvana appeared, everyone was stunned. Hearing everyone's discussion, Heavenly King Tu and Di Mingyue smiled proudly. Humph, what an arrogant brat. Do you really think you can challenge Master Nirvana's position just because you got first place by luck? Wait until the end of the competition. I'll make sure you cry. Di Mingyue wore a gorgeous long dress and looked noble like a proud peacock. She curled her lips and revealed a mocking smile as she murmured to herself. She wasn't the only one who felt that Yi Qinfeng was bound to lose. After witnessing Master Nirvana refine two quasi-sacred artifacts, almost no one thought that Yi Qinfeng would win. Even Xian Hongzheng felt that unless a miracle happened, Yi Qinfeng was bound to lose. Mobile reading site, book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this book. You will be able to see it the next time you open your bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1191. Time flew by, and soon there was only one day left until the final round. Watermark advertisement, test watermark advertisement, test Chinese. At this moment, apart from Yi Qinfeng and Master Shueihua from Vast Heaven Palace, everyone else had finished refining. Because Master Nirvana had refined two quasi-saint artifacts at the same time, and the quality was excellent, many people felt that Master Nirvana would surpass Master Dan Xan, who had refined a quasi-saint artifact and obtained first place. The competition is about to end. Feng Qin, you have to do your best. You must succeed. Jiao Yin clenched the corner of her clothes tightly and bit her pink lips. Looking at the image on the light wall, she anxiously shouted in her heart, believe in Feng Qin. I feel that he will create another miracle. Wang Tian Marquis gently hugged the anxious Jiao Yin and comforted her softly. I am so stupid. If only I had lent the phoenix burning furnace to Feng Qin, he wouldn't have had such a hard time. Jiao Yin leaned into Wang Tian Marquis' embrace and constantly blamed herself. AI. Hearing Jiao Yan's constant self-blame, Wang Tian Marquis sighed softly. She could also see that Yi Qinfeng's furnace quality wasn't good enough, which affected his refining speed. But after seeing Master Nirvana refine two quasi-saint artifacts, she felt that even if Yi Qinfeng had the phoenix burning furnace, the chances of him defeating Master Nirvana were very slim. Feng Qin is still young and impetuous. I hope this lesson will make him mature a little. Wang Tian Marquis thought in her heart and felt a little pity for Feng Qin. Wang. Just as everyone's attention was focused on Yi Qinfeng and Master Shueihua, Master Shueihua's hands moved quickly and formed several complicated hand seals. She continuously struck the boiling furnace and formed a large amount of light. In the next moment, a pair of boots with a large number of engravings, a pair of wings, and a quasi-sacred artifact, rank boots, broke through the tightly shut furnace amidst the scorching flames and flew into the air. Quasi-saint artifact of speed. Master Shueihua actually refined a quasi-saint artifact of speed. The difficulty of forging a pseudo-saint artifact was even greater than that of a defensive pseudo-saint artifact. It was comparable to Master Nirvana's dual pseudo-saint artifact Wu Go. Master Pilheart frowned slightly when he saw the feathered boots floating above Master Shueihua's head. Although his refining skills were far superior to Master Shueihua's, the combat robes he refined were incomparable to the feathered boots Master Shueihua refined. It could be said that he had lost to Master Shueihua in the weapon refining competition. Amazing! Grandmaster Shueihua's attainments in the artifact arts are indeed deeper. After refining this pair of feathered boots, he indeed has the qualifications to compete with Grandmaster Nirvana for first place in this artifact refining competition. Many people were full of praise for the pair of feathered boots that Master Shueihua had made. The atmosphere was also unprecedentedly high because of the feathered boots that Master Shueiwa had made. Master Shueiwa had completed her weapon refinement. Of all the contestants, only Yi Qinfeng had yet to complete his weapon refinement. At this moment, there was still more than half a day before the end of the competition. Almost no one was optimistic about Yi Qinfeng. There were even people who suspected that Yi Qinfeng would not be able to complete his weapon refinement in the allotted time. Just as Yi Qinfeng became the focus of discussion, the sky-incinerating Saint Fire and Death Blaze Heaven Fire finally completed their fusion in the Chaos Divine Wood. They transformed into a brand new Saint Fire, the Sky-Incinerating Saint Fire. Sky-Incinerating Saint Fire refining. After the flames had fused and evolved, Yi Qinfeng did not hesitate to release the Sky-Incinerating Saint Fire and inject it into the vermilion bird cauldron. Following that, he used the power of the God-Eater brain to continue imitating the 9 flood dragon diagrams Saint Weapon pattern. He carved a Saint Weapon pattern on the fully formed sword embryo, increasing the quality of the quasi-saint sword to the greatest extent. A third type of flame. Seeing Yi Qinfeng suddenly summon a dark golden flame that flickered with blue dots and fused into the vermilion bird cauldron, the noisy sky fire world and the spectator pavilions fell silent. Pairs of shocked eyes stared at the light wall, unable to believe that Yi Qinfeng had summoned a third type of flame at the last moment. Heavens, what kind of body does that guy have? With his body of flesh and blood, how can he fuse 3 types of flames at the same time? Just how many secrets is this guy hiding? Soon, the spectator pavilions were in an uproar. Yi Qinfeng had completely become the focus of their discussion. Palace Master, do you know if Feng Chen's third type of flame is real? Great Elder Xian Zhongting's eyes widened as he looked at the equally shocked Xian Hongzhang and asked in a low voice, I don't know. I originally did not know that Feng Chen had a third type of flame. However, for him to summon this flame at the last moment shows that its power surpasses the sky-incinerating Saint Fire. Xian Hongzheng shook his head and guessed, if it surpasses the sky-incinerating Saint Fire, then it is the true Saint Fire. Xian Zhongting gasped and said, since he has such a terrifying flame, why didn't he use it earlier? Why did he have to wait until the last moment? I can't guess what this little guy is thinking either. Xian Hongzheng shook his head and said, however, since he left this trump card for the last moment, there must be a reason. I think that at the last moment, he should be able to complete the refinement. Rumble. Just as everyone was discussing, the silent sky of Sky Fire World suddenly reverberated with a deafening sound of thunder. The endless dark clouds were like thousands of soldiers and horses. They surged forward crazily, forming a thick layer of tribulation clouds in the sky above the Heaven Fire World. Tribulation clouds. As the controller of Sky Fire World, Xian Hongzhang immediately sensed the tribulation clouds the moment they appeared. His eyes widened as a look of shock appeared on his face. This Feng Qin is not refining a quasi-saint artifact, but a saint artifact. Only when something was refined beyond the limits of Central World would it attract the artifact tribulation to destroy it. Xian Hongzhang could not imagine that not only could Yi Qinfeng refine saint elixirs, but he could also refine saint artifacts. After a short moment of absent-mindedness, Xian Hongzhang came back to his senses and quickly opened the seal of Sky Fire World. Immediately, everyone in Sky Fire World felt the power of the tribulation clouds. Their eyes widened as they looked at the dark clouds in the sky. They looked as though they had seen a ghost. Artifact tribulation. It's actually artifact tribulation. This Feng Qin is refining a saint artifact. Heavens, is this guy really human? When did Central World give birth to such a monster? I was wondering why he dared to bet with Master Nirvana for the alchemy competition's prize. So his artifact refining technique has reached such a standard. This is the first time I've heard that someone can refine a saint artifact. The saint weapons and saint treasures of the Central World were not made by the blacksmiths of the Central World. Instead, they were found in ancient ruins or sky domain ruins. Therefore, when they saw the weapon tribulation that Yi Chenfeng attracted while refining, everyone was scared silly. Without the sky fire world seal, the tribulation clouds rolled even more violently. They swept through the void like raging waves. It was as though the end of the world had arrived. I never thought that I would attract the artifact tribulation just by inscribing a saint artifact rune. The God-Eater Brain's quasi-saint artifact formula is indeed powerful. Looking at the tribulation clouds above his head that were getting thicker, Yi Chenfeng's face revealed a trace of seriousness. He was afraid that the artifact tribulation would trigger the 3 seals he had sealed in the saint sword. If that happened, all his efforts would be in vain. Rumble. Just as Yi Chenfeng was waiting solemnly, a huge explosion rang out from the violently tumbling tribulation clouds. A pitch-black tribulation lightning broke through the tumbling tribulation clouds, and like a spatial crack that tore through the heavens, it ruthlessly struck towards Yi Chenfeng, who had ignited his fiend god bloodline and was going all out. Boom! The space where Yi Chenfeng was in trembled violently. Yi Chenfeng and the vermilion bird cauldron were swallowed by the pitch-black tribulation lightning. Mobile reading site. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click on the bookmark button at the bottom to record this reading record. You will be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1192. What a terrifying weapon calamity. Compared to the weapon calamity, the elixir calamity was much weaker. Feeling the power of the weapon calamity, Xian Hongjing's expression changed. He started to worry for Yi Chenfeng. He was worried that he would not be able to withstand the attack of the weapon calamity. Just as everyone's attention was attracted by the weapon calamity descending from the sky, a 5-colored divine would appear on Yi Chenfeng's body. The 5-colored divine would sway and weaken the power of the calamity lightning. In the next moment, Yi Chenfeng summoned the 3 Dao diagrams. He pushed the power of Dao intent to the extreme and continued to weaken the terrifying calamity lightning. He was afraid that the calamity lightning would tear the seal in the sword-shaped embryo and cause the forging to fail. What a terrifying divine wood! This is the first time I've seen such a divine wood. Looking at the chaos divine wood that held up the void and swayed its treetop, continuously tearing apart the black tribulation lightning, everyone present felt that the chaos divine wood was extraordinary. There were even some people who revealed fiery expressions, wanting to take the chaos divine wood for themselves. Under the tempering of the black calamity lightning, the sword-shaped embryo quickly took shape. Its quality had slightly surpassed a quasi-saint artifact and was close to the standard of a true saint artifact. However, Yi Chenfeng's worry had become a reality. Under the crazy tempering of the black tribulation lightning, the 3 layers of seals in the sword-shaped embryo were showing signs of breaking. The 2 holy spirits in the seals were restless, showing signs of tearing apart the seals and exploding. 9 flood dragon diagram the seal was broken, and Yi Chenfeng was multitasking. He summoned the mid-grade saint treasure, the 9 serpent dragon portrait, and continuously poured his soul power and will into the 9 serpent dragon portrait. He controlled the 9 serpent dragon spirits to seal the void and summoned the chaos divine wood. With its power, he repaired the broken seal. 9 flood dragon spirits. Could this be the Zhou clan's greatest treasure back then? There were many old monsters in the heaven fire world who had lived for tens of thousands of years. Seeing the 9 flood dragon spirits sealing the void, many of them recognized the origin of the 9 flood dragon diagram. Why would the 9 flood dragon diagram be with him? Could he be related to the Zhou clan? Many people guessed Yi Chenfeng's identity through the 9 flood dragon diagram. Cosmos sword formation. Although the power of the 9-flood dragon diagram was terrifying, Yi Chen-feng was unable to unleash its full power. A large amount of black tribulation lightning pierced through the 9-flood dragon spirits and struck down. Left with no other choice, Yi Chen-feng revealed another trump card. He summoned the 81 Cosmos swords and formed the Cosmos Sword Array, madly crushing the tribulation lightning and weakening its power as much as possible. Heavens, under such circumstances, he still has the spare energy to control the sword formation to attack. How exactly did this guy cultivate? Looking at the Cosmos sword formation that Yi Chen-feng had summoned, the entire Heaven Fire world gasped. In the viewing pavilions, there was complete silence. Everyone was shocked by Yi Chen-feng's endless methods. It was as though they were petrified and couldn't say a word. Spirit of life. About 2 hours later, Yi Chen-feng, who had forcefully weakened the power of the weapon Calamity, had his body shattered by the remaining power of the weapon Calamity. Just as he was about to be unable to withstand the injuries, he summoned a ball of spirit of life and swallowed it. Using the terrifying recovery power of the spirit of life, he quickly healed his injuries and continued to withstand the baptism of the weapon Calamity. He controlled the sword-shaped embryo to undergo a deeper transformation. As for the broken 3 layers of seals within the sword-shaped embryo, they were completely repaired by the Chaos Divine Wood. As the Chaos Divine would continue to repair the sword-shaped embryo, the weakening artifact Tribulation could no longer tear apart the 3 layers of seals that Yi Chen-feng had cast. The weapon Calamity in the Tribulation cloud was condensing. The weapon Calamity should be nearing its end. Success or failure depended on this. Looking at the revolving Tribulation cloud, everyone held their breaths at that moment. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open, waiting for the final result. Boom! A deafening explosion sounded from the rapidly revolving Tribulation cloud. At that moment, the energy in the Tribulation cloud was completely sucked dry. It turned into a black, dragon-like Tribulation lightning that was as thick as a water bucket. With the power to destroy the world, it struck towards Yi Chen-feng. 9-flood dragon diagram. Kill for me. Yi Chen-feng also knew that victory or defeat would depend on this one move. Without holding back, he controlled the 9-flood dragon diagram to launch its strongest attack. He controlled the 9-flood dragon spirits to attack the black, dragon-like Tribulation lightning. Long following a series of deafening explosions, the 9-flood dragon spirits were unable to withstand the weapon Calamity's final attack and were defeated one after another. At this moment, Yi Chen-feng controlled the 81 Qinkuan swords and combined them together, forming a giant sword that was dozens of feet long. Combined with the bronze sword spirit, it carried the power to annihilate all living things. It ruthlessly slashed at the last weapon Tribulation that had shattered the spirit of the Jiao dragon, forcefully weakening the power of the weapon Tribulation. Chaos Divine Wood as the universe swords and the final Tribulation lightning fiercely clashed in midair. Yi Chen-feng controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to attack again, doing everything he could to weaken the final weapon Calamity's power. Succeed! Fengchen, you must succeed! Jiao Yiyan stared fixedly at the huge light wall, praying in her heart. She prayed that Yi Chen-feng could create a miracle and withstand the terrifying weapon Calamity and succeed in refining the weapon. Damn it! I don't believe that with his strength of a level 4 Beast Emperor, he can survive the final attack of the weapon Calamity. On the other hand, Master Nirvana was cursing Yi Chen-feng in his heart, cursing him to fail in refining the weapon, because he was very clear that once Yi Chen-feng was able to withstand the baptism of the artifact Tribulation and allow the quasi-saint artifact he refined to transform into a true saint artifact, he would completely fail, and the reward he obtained would also be given away. Hung the terrifying weapon Calamity. The universe swords and the Chaos Divine would fiercely clashed in midair. The loud sound was like the roar of the thunder god, resounding through the 9 heavens. The 3 terrifying powers clashed fiercely, creating a destructive power that was as boundless as the sea, forming a terrifying might. Under the shroud of this might, many people felt their legs go soft and couldn't help but want to kneel down and worship. Crack, crack, crack after about half an incense stick's time. The universe swords formed by 81 supreme grade Tao swords was shattered by the last weapon calamity. Although the chaos divine had withstood the final attack of the weapon calamity with its own strength, there was still a large amount of remnant power from the weapon calamity that fell down from the chaos divine attacking Yi Qinfeng and the sword-shaped embryo that was about to take shape in the vermilion bird cauldron. Purple beginnings, holy lightning, weakening. Under the God-Eater brain's ingenious calculations, Yi Qinfeng felt that the weakening remnant power from the weapon calamity could still destroy the sword-shaped embryo that was about to take shape, releasing a large amount of purple beginnings, holy lightning to continue consuming it. Under the weakening of Yi Qinfeng's methods, the remnant power from the weapon calamity fell sharply. While bombarding Yi Qinfeng's body, it drilled into the vermilion bird cauldron, destroying the sword-shaped embryo. Puff, puff, puff at this time. Yi Qinfeng ignored the damage to his body and continuously spat out a large amount of blood essence into the vermilion bird cauldron, increasing the power of the sky-burning, sacred flame to the greatest extent. Finally, under the efforts of Yi Qinfeng, who was covered in blood and severely injured, the sword-shaped embryo was finally tempered by the remnant power of the weapon calamity. Under the burning of the sky-burning sacred flame, it turned into a 6 feet 6 inches long sacred sword that was covered with multiplying weapon patterns. The sword hilt was as black as ink, and it was simple and elegant. Among the many weapon patterns on the sacred sword, there was a dragon-like weapon pattern that extended from the tip of the sword to the hilt. This weapon pattern was the sacred weapon pattern that Yi Qinfeng had spent a lot of effort to inscribe. It was this sacred weapon pattern that attracted the weapon calamity and finally allowed the sword that Yi Qinfeng had refined to transform into a low-grade sacred weapon. Mobile reading website. Book address. In order to make it easier for you to read next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this reading record. You can see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1193. Success, he really succeeded. When the artifact tribulation dispersed, a light sword flickering with vigorous light and swallowing and spitting out endless sword rays floated above Yi Qinfeng's head. Seeing that Yi Qinfeng had really refined a sacred artifact, Xianhong was so excited that he directly stood up from his chair. Watermark advertisement. Test watermark advertisement test. Not only did Xianhongjing stand up the moment the saint artifact was formed, Yan Ruyu, Devil-Tide King, and the others all stood up at the same time. They looked at Yi Qinfeng with eyes full of admiration and shock. After all, in the long history of the Central World, it had been a long time since anyone had forged a saint artifact. This finals was destined to be recorded in the annals of history. Damn, with his age, how could he forge a saint artifact? There was definitely a problem with this saint artifact. Master Nirvana couldn't accept this fact and immediately cursed. Not long after Yi Qinfeng forged the saint sword, the long blacksmith competition finally ended. All the blacksmiths brought their divine weapons and left the independent space, appearing in the heaven fire world. At this moment, other than Master Nirvana, who was angry out of humiliation, all the other saint masters and saint blacksmith masters looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was much younger than them, with respect and admiration. Although they had studied blacksmithing for thousands of years, they knew that they didn't have the ability to forge a saint artifact. It could be said that the previous scene had shocked them and made them accept their loss. Feng Qin, you're really too amazing. I didn't expect you to have hidden the third flame that allowed you to withstand the artifact tribulation and forge a saint artifact. The first place of the artifact forging competition belongs to you. Xianhong walked in front of Yi Qinfeng and praised him loudly. Hall, Master Xian, The blacksmith hasn't even been appraised, and you are already ranked first. Isn't that a little reckless? Master Nirvana's eyes twitched as he suppressed the anger in his heart and retorted with a gloomy face. Master Nirvana, although you forged 2 quasi-saint artifacts in the finals, I think you should be clear about the difference between a quasi-saint artifact and a saint artifact. Feng Qin forged a saint artifact in the finals and is fully deserving of being ranked first. There is no doubt about this. Xian Hongzheng looked at Master Nirvana, who was pale and couldn't accept the fact that he had lost, and said slowly, Humph! I don't believe that with his strength and age, he can refine a saint artifact. I want to see it for myself. Great Master of Nirvana could not accept the fact that he had lost to Yi Qinfeng, so he raised an objection in front of everyone. Not only did Great Master Nirvana have objections, Heavenly King too, and the others also had doubts about the holy sword that Yi Qinfeng forged and supported Great Master Nirvana. Since Great Master Nirvana wants to get lucky and doesn't want to admit defeat, then let's appraise it. Yi Qinfeng shrugged and said with a relaxed expression, I also want to identify it. Master Shui Wei, Master Pilheart, and the others said in unison. However, they did not doubt the sacred sword that Yi Qinfeng had forged. They only wanted to know what runes Yi Qinfeng had carved into the sacred sword to trigger the artifact tribulation and forge it into a sacred artifact. All right, let's all appraise Feng Chen's saint sword together. After saying that, Xian Hong took the sacred sword from Yi Qinfeng's hands and sealed it in the void. He then surrounded the sacred sword with Great Master Nirvana and the others and released their powerful souls to appraise it. What a profound sacred artifact rune. Feng Qin, how did you carve such a profound sacred artifact rune? When everyone saw the sacred artifact rune that ran through the sword like a dragon's spine, they all sighed in amazement. This sacred artifact rune was passed down to me by my master. However, I'm rather slow and only managed to grasp one sacred artifact rune. Yi Qinfeng spouted nonsense. The biggest reason he was able to carve this sacred artifact rune was because of the God-Eater brain that had forcefully replicated the sacred artifact rune. Hearing Yi Qinfeng call himself slow, everyone was speechless. If Yi Qinfeng was slow, then they could all die of stupidity. Great Master Nirvana, what do you have to say now? After everyone's inspection, they confirmed that Yi Qinfeng had indeed refined a low-grade sacred artifact. Xian Hong looked at Great Master Nirvana, whose face was as dark as water and whose veins were bulging on his forehead. Humph, when you guys were inspecting, didn't you find the seal on the sword? I feel like there's something wrong with the seal. Great Master Nirvana refused to admit defeat. He humphed coldly and continued to nitpick. What? Great Master Nirvana, you don't want to admit defeat? Yi Qinfeng smiled and said softly, Humph, Junior, explain the seal on the sword to me first before we talk about victory. Great Master Nirvana humphed coldly. I spent several days applying these seals. If it weren't for these 3 layers of seals, I would definitely have been able to forge the sacred artifact earlier than you. Yi Qinfeng smiled and said, Open your eyes wide and take a good look at what these seals are. With that, Yi Qinfeng held the sacred sword that was sealed in the void in his hand. He released 1 layer of the seal and suddenly slashed at Great Master Nirvana, who was not far away. Seeing Yi Qinfeng daring to slash at him with the sacred sword, Great Master Nirvana's face showed a trace of anger. The fire Tao diagram appeared on his body and turned into a burning flame. It burned the air and grabbed at Yi Qinfeng's sacred sword. He wanted to use this opportunity to severely injure Yi Qinfeng and teach him a lesson. However, the moment the giant flaming hand grabbed the sacred sword, the sacred thunder of purple beginnings and the sky-burning sacred fire sealed within the sacred sword shot out like the fury of a god, destroying the giant flaming hand formed by the diagram of the Tao of Fire. Qi, the flaming hand that was constantly being destroyed, was split open by the sacred sword. The extremely sharp sacred sword light continued to slash at Great Master Nirvana, forcing him to dodge awkwardly. Feng Qin, what was the seal in the sacred sword? Seeing the purple beginnings, sacred thunder, and sky-burning beginnings, sacred fire explode from the sacred sword. Everyone present was shocked. Great Elder Xianzhong Ting's throat rolled as he asked in shock. In order to increase the power of this sacred sword, I added 3 layers of seals in the sacred sword. Then I used the method of balancing the first sacred fire and first sacred thunder to seal them in the sacred sword. Yi Qinfeng explained. First Saint Lei Fengqin, you even subdued a type of first sacred thunder. What kind of body do you have? Xian Hongjing's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. It could be said that Yi Qinfeng's various methods were beyond his imagination. The first sacred thunder and the combination of fire and water were taught to me by my master. Yi Qinfeng vaguely explained. Fengqin, you taught us a lesson today. You let us know that there is such a way to increase the power of refining. Xian Hongzhang and the others said excitedly, Master Nirvana, what else is there to say now? Yi Qinfeng said with a faint smile as he looked at Great Master Nirvanic, who was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood after being knocked back by his sword. Master Nirvana was about to go crazy from anger. Flames shot out from his eyes as if he wanted to melt Yi Qinfeng. He had never suffered such humiliation in his life. Master Nirvana, I know that you are a senior and have high prestige. You are embarrassed to admit defeat. Forget it, I won't force you. However, I still have to thank you for your generosity to give me the alchemy competition's prize. You are really a good person. Yi Qinfeng ignored Master Nirvana's angry gaze as he said with a smile, Pooh! Yi Qinfeng's words were like knives that pierced into Master Nirvana's heart. He was so angry that he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Master Nirvana seeing Master Nirvana vomit blood because of Yi Qinfeng, Tu Tianwang and Di Mingyue immediately came to his side and glared at Yi Qinfeng. Junior, you are not bad. I will remember today's humiliation. I will definitely return it to you in the future. Master Nirvana wiped the blood from his mouth and glared at Yi Qinfeng before flying out of the heaven fire world. Seeing Master Nirvana leave in anger, Xian Hongjing didn't stop him. He revealed a bitter smile and opened the exit of the heaven fire world, allowing him to leave. Mobile reading website, book address. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click Save at the bottom to record this book. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support.